This June meeting of the Board of License Commissioners of Carroll County to order. We begin our meeting with pledge to the flag and observe a moment of silence in memory of those who have gone before us and sacrificed to make our country as great as it is. It is strictly voluntary. Mr. Barnhart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All may be seated.
Morning.
Morning. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. The first item of business on our official business agenda is first-time applications for a one-day license.
Got to copy this to you got a copy of this at the big, or is that just?
Sure. Maybe a less fancy one.
No, not for these.
Okay. Please state your names and addresses and pull that microphone in front of you. For the record, please.
My name is Danielle Stansberry. The address of the location or my personal
Either
address?
one. Doesn't matter.
7 Schoolhouse Avenue is the address of Springboard Community Services, and we've applied for the application. It's in Westminster. The event itself will be held at the Westminster Tattoo Company, and that's at the Fairgrounds Shopping Center in Westminster.
And my name is Jacob Reek, R-E-I-K, and the address is 7 Schoolhouse Avenue, Westminster, Maryland.
Okay, you want to tell us what you're going to have and a little bit about it?
Sure, it's
Your experience with alcohol and so on and so forth?
yes, it's an art show and silent auction. We're highlighting art that's been donated by local tattoo artists and nationally recognized tattoo artists. We were able to get some sponsorships, and one of those sponsorships was Tito's Handmade Vodka, so we applied for the application to be able to serve that at the event. We have sold tickets and have a lot of local interest, and local businesses have donated art and items for silent auction. My experience with alcohol sales is my parents owned a bar for 28 years in Baltimore County. I was on the liquor license and served at that bar for many, many years. I was required to keep my tip certification, Serve Safe. We never had one violation in the whole 28 years in business. My parents have retired, and I've moved on to a different field, so I went and took the alcohol awareness class with the Frederick County Liquor Board just this past week to be compliant with your requirements.
You say you're having an art show.
Yes.
What type of art?
All different kinds. Some of them are prints that have been created by tattoo artists, and then some of them are oil paintings by local artists from Westminster and the surrounding counties. There's also some metal work and woodwork, and there's also available for silent auction baskets, like the Orioles contributed one, and we have one that's for like a men's night in. It's like a spa basket for men, and then a women's spa basket. There's lots of options.
Who will be serving?
I have a bartender that used to work for me, and she's now a nurse, but she's going to come volunteer her time.
And what's your process going to be for making sure that you're age compliant?
We have someone that's assigned to work the door, and everyone will be carded. We'll have an X for under 21, a T for someone who's receiving a tattoo, because they won't be drinking alcohol while they're receiving a tattoo either. So X for under 21, T for tattoo, and then a bracelet for regular, someone who is allowed to have the alcoholic beverages.
Is any of this event going to be outdoors?
Yes.
Okay, on the sidewalk in front of the parlor?
It's tented, yes, but it is outside.
And does it extend beyond the demarcation of the parlor? Does it in front of any other businesses?
No, no.
And what happens in the tented area?
Cornhole, there's a DJ, and the beverages will be served outside.
They're served outside? Mm-hmm. They're not served inside, they'll be served under the tent?
Under the tent, yes.
Does there have to be any special permitting and permission to be able to set up in a parking lot?
The landlord has to give permission.
Okay.
I did contact.
And that has
the land-
happened?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for.
I contacted the landlord, and he asked me to talk to the local businesses, and I did, the neighboring businesses in the shopping center. There was nobody that had an issue. It's on a Saturday night. A lot of those businesses in that shopping center are not open for business. Two of them are a cafe that close early, and they serve lunch. Sergio's is right next door, so I think they're excited about the potential business that it will create for them, because we're only gonna be there for 3 hours. So any overflow will be supporting the businesses around there.
And then what was the final answer from the landlord? Did he give you
Oh,
anything
he
in
had
writing?
no issue. He had no issue, and he will be attending the event.
Did he give you anything in writing?
No, but
Did you need that in writing?
in the application, it asked me to have the notarized signature be the business owner, and she did notarize and sign.
On the location, there should be another, location of the event should be on the second page of the application.
And you're saying that the landlord is signed that application?
No, the business owner did.
What business owner?
This is not
That
the
owns the
landlord's signature.
Westminster Tattoo Company.
Okay.
Okay, I misunderstood what she said. I thought you said the landlord,
Yeah,
but
this is not the landlord's signature.
Can you go on the record and tell us who the landlord is?
His name is John. I can't remember his last name. I have it written down on my desk. And I'd be happy to get his signature or something in writing.
Okay. And he asked you to contact the businesses before?
Right,
He would
just to let
approve.
them know that there was going to be an influx of traffic that day. There is another business in that shopping center that has high traffic, and it's kind of on the other side. So we did go to each place. It's a cafe that closes early for lunch. There's a florist that won't be open, a bakery that's open early hours. So Saturday, 7 p.m., I don't think anybody was worried about the
Those are the hours, 7 to 10?
7 to 10, yeah.
You say you're putting up a tent
Yes.
on the sidewalk or on the parking
On the
spaces?
parking spaces in front of the tattoo parlor. And they're like, it's actually 3 tents, and it's, I think they're 15 by 13. They're like sports tents. We've purchased like lighting that goes around them, to kind of like tie off the area so that it's contained.
So I'm sorry, go,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
go ahead.
The service of alcohol will be outside on the parking lot.
Yeah,
Do I got that right? Okay. And how many bartenders will you have?
one and myself. If she needs help, I'll help.
Okay. And what kind of beverages are, you might have said this already, I missed it.
Tito's Handmade Vodka sponsored us, so we have vodka, but it won't be served straight. It's going to be fruity beverages, and we will purchase beer if we don't have it donated by the time of the event.
So beer and vodka is what we're talking about.
Right.
And I was looking at the file when you were talking about how you're going to control the sales regarding age compliance, and how's that going to happen? You say wristbands?
Wristbands for people that are over 21.
And who's going to be doing the wristbanding?
I have a staff member that works for Springboard that is going to be at the front door and ID every person that comes through.
So they have to go into the parlor first?
Yes.
And then come out and get
And
served on
sign
the
in,
parking lot?
And, because it's a ticketed event, so to prove that you've purchased your ticket.
Yeah.
How much are the tickets?
$20.
What
30
does-
at the door. If people are coming, they're
What
paying
does,
30. at
what
the
does a ticket get you?
door. 2 beverage tokens and a swag bag. And attendance to the event, the ability to bid on the art.
And this is only gotta be in front of the tattoo parlor.
Yes. It's a pretty large space. I included a map. She's got 2 storefronts in that shopping center. She probably has, if not her or Sergio's next door, the largest store frontage. So hopefully we won't be disturbing the businesses on either side.
Is one of those sidewalk rails in front of the tattoo parlor?
Sidewalk.
Are you
There's a-
familiar with the area? Have you been there?
Oh, yeah, many times. The sidewalk rail, you're talking about like where you hold on to come through? There's one next to the tree. And that's on, like if you're facing the shopping center, it's on the right-hand side, and then that Sergio's right there next to her. I'm not sure that there's no rail in front of the tattoo shop.
How about that tree? Is that in front of the tattoo shop?
It's in between Sergio's and the tattoo shop, and there's a rail there.
Where's the traffic breaker?
I'm sorry. Can you,
Yeah, there's one of those traffic slowdown things.
Any bump?
Yeah.
bump?
There's a traffic bump in the parking lot?
I think it's up further by the dispensary, but I'm not positive about that.
So the price of the beverages is included in the ticket. You're not taking money at the bar?
I'm not certain, and I was gonna default to you and ask questions about what that would look like.
Are you done with this?
No. So each ticket, you get 2 beverages,
Tokens, yep.
tokens. And then, but we haven't decided whether you're going to
Right,
keep
I
serving.
just wanna be compliant. So if it sounds like that would be too much of a risk, then I won't sell additional beverages. But in 3 hours, if somebody wants to buy one more drink, I wanna defer to your opinion on that.
So every ticketed person can get 2 drinks in 3 hours,
Yes,
and vodka or beer or both.
right.
Is there any food being served?
Yes, there's 3 food trucks.
3
And a
food
dessert
trucks.
truck. Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be in the parking lot then.
Parked on the other side of the tents.
So people are gonna have to walk across the traffic aisle to get the food trucks?
No, the traffic will be blocked just in that area, but there is another lane of traffic at the other end of the parking lot.
So you're gonna block the traffic lane in front of the
Yes.
establishments?
Yeah, I feel like for safety reasons, we probably should block just in front of the tattoo parlor.
So just to be clear, I'm looking at the map.
Yeah,
You have this area which is covering parking, but you're talking about extending into the traffic lane beyond the parking.
yes.
Okay.
Well, just blocking off that first lane right in front of the tattoo parlor, and then having the food trucks park on the other side of that lane. And then there's an additional lane of traffic at the end of the parking lot that people can use to get through.
So when you talked to the other businesses, did you discuss all of that with them? The
Yes.
fact that there would be a blocked-off
Yes.
ingress, egress area?
Yes, and I went in and with the idea that I've been in business, I know, I don't want to be disruptive, I want to be respectful. Nobody seemed to have an issue with it. And really, the biggest issue with traffic is the dispensary, and they're on the opposite side of the shopping center where traffic wouldn't have to come down through.
So did I hear you say you're going to, like, rope off the tents so that
Yes.
so then they'll have to leave the tent to go to the food truck, is your thought? that-
No, the food
Okay.
truck will be like one barrier at the end of the tents, and then
So they're closing
we'll
this
attach it all so that it's contained.
Closing the area off in front of it.
Well, I think she said, so, on your diagram, there is orange, this area,
Yes,
it's over top of parking,
yes,
but are you going to close off the entire
yes.
traffic to the next parking spot?
Yes, that next parking spot there where the cars are parked will be where the food trucks are parked.
And they're going to be enclosed within your barrier
Yes.
too? So you're getting
She's talking about
in
right here,
the
food trucks
parking
here.
spots, the lane
all
of
this off.
traffic, and then additional parking spots further out
Right.
for the
I
food
I
trucks.
believe that if I leave it open, there will be a lot of back and forth between the inside of the shop, which is where the silent auction, the art, the flash tattoos, the artists will be interacting with people. I feel like there's gonna be so much traffic back and forth that it would be unsafe to leave it not blocked off.
How are you gonna secure that traffic lane?
Well, the tents will be there and they'll be connected by 250 feet of lighted ropes that we've purchased, and they will be around the area. And then I have maybe 10 staff members that are going to be policing those barriers because I don't want people leaving the area with alcohol or getting hurt, you know, someone driving through.
Are you actually familiar with traffic in that shopping center?
Yes.
You know they move it a little quickly at times,
Well, I mean, it's 7 PM on a Saturday, so,
and Sergio's will be in full swing.
right, Sergio's is on that side, and they have that whole end parking lot. And then the dispensary is on this side, and they have that whole end for the dispensary, because most of the other small businesses are closed at that point. So, our idea was that it would probably be safer to rope it off.
Springboard Community Services
Yes,
is a part of Family and Children's Services of Central Maryland?
we are Family and Children's Services at Central
Are,
Mountain.
okay.
Changed the name several years ago.
Oh, okay, that helps. And the money that is raised, the charitable purpose is for domestic abuse and things like that?
Yeah, I manage the Safe House, and it will benefit the Safe House and other victims of crime in Carroll County.
And can you just go on the record and tell us exactly what the Faith House is?
The Safe House is the
Oh, you
domestic,
said Safe House?
yes, the
Oh,
Safe
I'm
House.
sorry.
It's the domestic violence shelter.
Okay, I didn't hear that correctly, thank you. Have you done any other fundraisers in the past?
Yes, we do, well, we do awareness events and fundraisers. Just a few months ago in Harford County, we did the Wine Affair. That's at the Van Diver Inn. We do that every year. What is the beef one? Baltimore City does a beef event, and we do Rock the Block in Baltimore City. We do What is Love in Westminster City Park every year in October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
So you're a multi-jurisdictional
Yes,
charity?
yes,
Do any of those other events, did you involve alcohol with those?
yes.
Kind of the same setup, same,
Well, the Wine Affair is at a location that has a liquor license, so it's
Oh,
not
okay.
a permitted, we don't have to apply for a permit, but they do serve wine, and it's a tasting event, and, you know, much more involved than this that we're planning, but it's established, it's been going on for many years, so we're hoping, you know, that this will be a success and benefit the shelter, and we can explore other ways to do it in the future, too.
So Springboard Community Services has an address in Westminster,
Yes,
and on the IRS document that you provided, their Family and Children's Services is in Baltimore, but you
Yes.
say that is the old name of your organization.
it is our corporate office. It's a location within the agency. That Falls Road address.
So the Baltimore City office is our main office, and we have, like you said earlier, we have satellite offices throughout Central Maryland,
Okay.
Harford County, Carroll County, Baltimore City, and Howard County. So we serve all of Central Maryland. So that's
Okay,
where all
great.
those different.
So, money raised at this event is going to be dedicated to the services you provide in Carroll County, the Safe House in Carroll County, is that where it's located?
Yes.
So there's still an open question about alcohol service. How many drinks you're going to want to serve people, that's still an open question. We still have an open question about something in writing from the landlord, which is probably not a problem, just for our file. I mean, speaking for myself, I think I'd like to have it in our file.
Sure.
And I guess based, he or she will give you that written permission based on your discussion with all the other tenants in that shopping center. Is that how it's going to work?
Sure.
Okay.
So I guess a little bit of confusion lies is because your picture and your description makes it sound like you're only going to be right in front of the store. Because it says,
Yeah, I think
the
that,
sidewalks and parking spaces directly in front of the shop will be tented and partitioned for an area for eating and drinking, music and games. That will be the only area for alcohol beverages. But this footprint is not actually the footprint, correct? Footprint is larger?
right, when I did the application and pulled that map, I maybe wasn't fully aware of the space requirements for 200 people. So once I went over and took a tape measure and measured it out and thought about the food trucks and like the space where they were gonna need to be operating, I don't feel like I can stay to that first row of parking spaces.
Right, and the landlord is aware,
Yes,
and Sergio's and all your neighbors are aware?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
You expect 200 people?
That's
That's a
that's
lot
my
of-
cutoff, but 200
That's
tickets.
a lot of people for that small area.
How many tickets have you sold?
100?
So 200 people will need physical space as well as parking. I always felt that parking lot was a challenge sometimes to accommodate. But I haven't been there on a Saturday in a long time, so.
The Westminster dispensary closes at 8 on Saturday. So it,
And
for the
this is
first
7
hour. And that's the only two business, them and Sergio's only two businesses should be open up that,
Okay.
and then they close at 8, so.
All right.
And probably not expecting 200 people at one time.
No, and 50 of those people will be inside at any given time, watching the live tattooing that's going on, bidding on the auctions, hopefully, and interacting with artists that are coming from other shops to be a part of the event.
So the tattoo art
Yes.
is something that you would hang on a wall, or it's going to be
Yes.
something on somebody's arm?
So, it could be both. We had an artist that donated a series of prints that are called the Victim Valentines. And they are the highlight of the attraction of the show. And he is an artist named Mark Hall from Tennessee. He was an art director at Maryville University, and he donated these prints. They hang in House of Ruth, and now I have a set of them
Okay.
that I'm auctioning off. So that's like the draw, hopefully. And they are beautiful and very dark and impactful. So a lot of people are coming to see those. But we have a lot of very talented tattoo artists in this area. And I don't know if you're fans, but I am. And I've always watched Ink Master, and we have local people that were members on the show. And so the idea came to me that I love art, and this is a way to highlight art that is marks on the skin that are chosen and beautiful and not scars and bruises.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of ran with the idea of tattoos, but we do have a lot of artists who have donated who are survivors and who are, have people in their lives that have survived and donated.
Well, your cause is a great one, and thank you for that work. The proceeds of this event, do you have an idea of how much administration costs are going to pull out of the proceeds? Because I assume that you have some costs, and then everything else goes to the house?
I am extremely frugal and have
Okay?
done, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I've gotten a lot of it donated.
Okay.
And so, there will be very minimal costs. I think, my goal for this first year was $10,000 in profit for the Safe House. I think I'll get very close.
Okay, great. I'm kind of thinking, and then I'm just speaking for myself out loud, that maybe the 2-drink tokens might be a good limit, especially if you have hundreds of people. It kind of gets hard sometimes when you have a crushing crowd and a big event with a lot going on, and food trucks and art and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it'd be easier to control if you don't try to set up a cash bar as well. That's just my thought. And it's a 3-hour event, so 2 drinks in 3 hours. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, if someone would like to have another drink, they can walk down to Sergio's.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true too.
So that benefits Sergio. And I want to benefit local business, so.
Yeah.
So when you approached Sergio's, and did you, in full detail, tell them about food trucks going to be there
Yes,
and the aisle of traffic being blocked off and the parking, the footprint, I guess, per se? So the businesses that are being open are fully aware of every aspect of what you're telling us?
I went into Sergio's and ordered a staff dinner and spoke with the manager and said, here's my event, and I showed him the flyer. I said, I want to be really respectful of your business. We are going to be taking up the parking lot. We're going to be creating a disturbance up the road right next door from 7 to 10 on this day. I asked them if they had any recommendations for a DJ. They did not. They, you know, talked about the event and, you know, maybe attending. And, you know, that was it. And there was, it really is only 3 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah, and the drinking takes place in a demarked area?
Yes.
I must have, I know you testified to that, and I probably was looking at something else. So what is it going to be, a roped off?
Yeah,
Around the tent?
I bought 250 feet of
Oh, yeah,
lighted
the
rope.
lighted ropes.
Yeah. So, and then we've got some banners coming as well that say Inked with Hope that will cover the
Okay.
size of the tent.
And you and another person will be involved with the handing out the drinks,
Yes,
taking the tokens,
yes,
and you've had your alcohol management training.
I have.
Any other questions or comments?
How would you like me to provide the letter from the landlord?
Provide to our office. Just-
Okay,
And then.
Email it or just drop it off in an envelope.
okay, thank you.
Call us.
I would like you to provide a letter from the landlord and explain to the landlord exactly what's going to be roped off and where everything is going to be, and particularly about closing that lane of traffic
Okay,
prior to the issuance of any one-day liquor license.
okay.
Any objections?
No, that's a great point. And now, it's still the open question of how many tokens, well, 2 tokens go with the ticket, and there's a question of continued sales. I've already expressed my thoughts on it, if anybody else wants to.
I think your thoughts on that subject are reasonable, that the 2 tokens for a large crowd for this event should be sufficient, that no additional alcohol sales happen.
And they have Sergio's where they can at least make another tenant happy, I guess.
But they cannot leave Sergio's with the alcohol.
Oh, I don't manage Sergio's.
Yeah, that's,
That would be up to
that's on
Sergio.
Sergio, it's not on her.
Sergio's not gonna be the problem. Any other questions, comments, objections? If not, with approval of the information that we requested, if that's received prior to the date that you're having it, good luck.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, we have an application by Megan Carpenter of Four Square Productions for Carroll County Car Fest and the Carroll County Farm Museum. Good morning, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, Megan Carpenter, 4111 Mount Carmel Road, Upper Cone, Maryland.
And I'm Dan Carpenter, also at 4111 Mount Carmel Road.
Okay, what you gonna do and when you gonna do it and how you gonna do it?
Okay, we have a handcrafted beverage trailer called Amped Up Sips and Sweets. It's Foursquare Productions is our incorporated business. Amped Up is our DBA. And so Carroll County Car Fest, which is being run by Carroll County Rec and Parks at the Carroll County Farm Museum on July 12th from 11 to 3. They put out, I had already signed up as a regular food vendor, and they put out saying that they needed alcohol vendors as well. So I asked Maya, who I'm working with at the Rec and Parks, and she said, yeah, go ahead, apply for your one-day liquor license. You know, if you get it, you can become an alcohol vendor. If you don't, you're still one of our beverage vendors. So we filled out the application, and the beverages that we serve are refreshers, fresh squeezed lemonade, dirty sodas, and energy drinks.
Are you a 501c3 or any type?
No, we're a incorporation.
That's what I thought you said.
Yep.
And Carroll County Rex told you to come before us to try to get a one-day liquor license?
Yep.
I'm confused.
There's no nonprofit attached to it unless it's,
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't the Carroll County Rec and Parks be the one requesting this
Can't-
one-day license?
A for-profit business can't get a one-day liquor license.
Oh.
Has to be a nonprofit. I thought the Four Star Productions was a nonprofit, okay.
Oh, no, the application, it said,
Says no-
were you or were you not? So then we didn't put it as a nonprofit.
Can I see the application?
it's signed right there. Yeah.
I never,
You
I
have an
didn't-
alcoholic beverages truck, is that what you said?
we have a handcrafted beverage truck.
We don't normally sell alcohol.
No, yeah.
Yeah, on the application, yeah, it's just a mistake on your part, I think. Yeah, it's legalese, it's fine print and stuff like that, but the application does say Four Square Productions, Inc. is a nonprofit organization. It's part of what you fill in, and sometimes, I guess, people can miss that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, well, I'll let that go. Looks like you took the alcohol awareness course.
Did, yeah. And I had the Farm Museum director notarize, her signature notarized.
So,
Hey, Joe, has the Farm Museum put in for this car show before? Have they, is this the first year for the car show?
I don't remember if they've ever done it. I mean, I know Rec and Parks has done things that they've applied, but I don't know if it's specifically the Car Fest or not.
so it's at the Farm Museum, and they have
as property owners, they have signed off. But unfortunately, our rules require that these licenses be issued to nonprofits.
Oh, okay,
And
that's
I
fine.
was kind of thinking that maybe the rec people might,
Let me look into it and talk to the YMCA or the rec department and see what's going on, and I'll give a call.
Okay.
Because we still have another hearing date before the 12th.
So you were contacted by Parks and Rec?
No, I signed up for it.
Oh,
I signed up to be a beverage trailer there.
no, but how did you originally know of the event?
Through Facebook.
And I thought I heard you said that Park and Recs reached out and asked if anybody wanted to.
It was like another Facebook ad saying that they still had openings for vendors, especially
okay.
alcohol vendors.
For alcohol vendors, that's what prompted this whole thing, because you saw
Exactly.
that, okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
so they were soliciting alcohol vendors, and you responded and said, I'll try that, and they said,
Yeah.
come here today, and
Yep, she said you just have to follow the procedure.
yeah, well, that's
Let me
true.
I mean,
Sign this from the form.
but we give it a
Sewell?
try.
Jane knows better.
I mean, as a regular beverage trailer, we're working at the Reese Carnival, the Carroll County 4-H Fair, doing other events as well.
You're working at Reese Carnival
Yeah, our trailer is, yes.
with beverages?
Yep.
With alcoholic beverages?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
This would be our
This was
first
just
alcoholic beverage
one
sales.
day, a one-day thing
Because
for
that
4
would
hours.
be taboo too.
I'm sorry?
If you were at Reese with that, that's taboo too.
Oh, no. No, we have no plans for that.
Okay.
Well,
You can talk to the rec department.
Unfortunately,
Because
I'm sorry.
I say unfortunately, our rules do not permit a one-day license for a corporation.
That's fine.
So
Yeah, okay, we're okay with that.
keep in touch with Keith and
yeah, we'll see if we can figure out something.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, well, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.
yeah.
It's okay.
do we go to the next case or?
Yeah, we can.
It's 20 of 11.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, would you call our first case 6559, please?
All right, case 6559, a violation hearing for a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license issued to William B. Wiley III for the use of GL 2300 LLC. Trading as GL Shacks, 1207 Liberty Road, Eldersburg, Maryland, 21784. Violation hearing, violation of Rule 20 regarding percentage of alcohol sales allowed. In the file of this matter, we have the following documents. May 30th, 2025, notice of public hearing. May 23rd, 2025, notice of public hearing. Violation was acknowledged receipt of the letter dated April 17th, 2025, delivered by hand on September 22nd, 2025. There's a document, food sales versus alcoholic beverage sales. And percentage of alcohol sold equals 65%. There's April 17, 2025 letter from Joe Vance to William B. Wiley III for this hearing. Violation, percentage of alcohol sales higher than allowed. And it looks like the violation is Rule 20. The sale of food constitutes at least 41% of the average monthly receipts from the sale of food and alcoholic beverages.
As measured over a 1-year period.
Yes. I would ask that the file be entered into evidence.
We'll take that into evidence.
Has to be at least 41. So 59. Because it could be 40, 40, anything over 40.
This time, all those who intend to testify, please stand. Raise your right hand, be sworn in by Ms. Vance.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You all may be seated. Inspector Benford, do you have any opening?
I was just going to start it, I don't want to open statements, but
Okay,
Inspector Keith Benford, Board of License Commissioners. On April 1st, 2025, William Wiley turned in a renewal packet in for GL Shacks to the Board of License Commissioners Liquor Board.
I'm sorry, turned in a what?
A renewal packet.
Renewal package, thank you. That was, yeah.
Turned in a renewal packet for GL Shacks to the Board of License Commissioners Liquor Board. Part of the renewal packet is the food sales versus alcohol sales beverage form. The form requires gross sales, alcohol sales, and percentage of alcohol sold. This percentage should not be over 59%. Mr. Wiley's form had 65%. Mr. Wiley has signed his name and signatures was notarized. Mr. Wiley certified, I certify that the foregoing is an accurate, exact from the records of the establishment, and these records are true and correct record on the sales of the establishment. This form was notarized by Marie Tabler of Carroll County on March 30th, 2025. I'd like to make a motion to enter, I think it's already in the packet, but the alcohol versus food sale. I showed it to Bill. And I did speak to Bill, and he's been very truthful. He was truthful when he admitted this violation.
we'll accept that into evidence. Mr. Wiley, we need you to state your full name and your address for the record, please. And that microphone, you can just pull it in front of you.
Is he going to come out and pull it away from me? William B. Wiley III, 2300 Deer Park Road, Finksburg, Maryland, 21048.
The renewal packet is not in this file?
No, just the alcohol versus food sales.
Is this the actual page that's part of the?
That's
yeah.
a
So
copy of
that
the
is-
actual page.
Oh, okay, that
That's
was,
the actual page. It's in the file, too.
that's in the file?
Yeah. Did you want to see this one, too?
The whole renewal packet is not.
Yeah, that's.
Sure. Do you ever track your alcohol sales getting closer to the end of the year to?
No, it's probably done quarterly. I think you guys are aware that I own 2 different establishments in Carroll County. So we do track them pretty much quarterly. Bistro, I believe last year was 93% food, 7% alcohol. That's more of a restaurant. GL Shacks, we're coming up on 2 years, and we knew from the get-go when we bought it that it was a different animal. So we're addressing the issues there. And really, at the end of the day, we just told the truth. Here it is. And we run that quarterly also, and I probably do it a little more often just because we're trying to get it to where it needs to be.
Did that third quarter kind of look like it was headed that way?
It does look like it's headed in the right direction. One of the things that we have done And I don't know if you're familiar with the previous owner, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but when we bought this 20 months ago, 60/40 or 59/41 was not where this place has ever been. And that's me looking at the numbers. And to be honest with you, it was probably more like 80/20. When we purchased the facility, it did not have a functioning kitchen staff. The first thing we did was brought in 2 full-time, when I say full-time, probably more than that, line cooks who could get the kitchen straightened out and put a better product on the table so that we were serving more of a menu, so to speak. I don't want to say that it's a restaurant by any means, but, you know, burgers, tacos, that kind of stuff. That was at an expense of probably $120,000, but we thought it was important to do that. So I think that we're headed in the right direction. Part of this, and my operations manager, who also crunches the numbers, we talked about this. I tend to be transparent. I tend to just tell you how it is. This is where we were.
What'd your first quarter sales of this year look like?
I would say we're probably within the ratio, for sure. And some of that is because food sales have increased pretty dramatically. And the other thing we do is we do put chips and salsa out for free. And that's, you know, basically because it's more of a bar. It's a sports bar. And I think some of the issue is Keith and I are going to go to the Cork and have dinner, and we're going to want to watch a odd sports game. I have 18 TVs. It is a sports bar. People leave their dinner, come there, have a couple of beers, and watch whatever they want to watch because we stream everything. The other current thing that's going on is we're trying to rebrand. We're changing the name. I've been in contact with the landlord, notified, sign's been ordered. Try to go in a little bit of a different direction than what GL Shack's reputation has been for the last. Listen, that facility has been a couple of different things over the last 30 or 40 years. I'm very aware of that. Part of that is just trying to go in a different direction so that we can obviously improve the numbers, but try to get away from the, I don't want to say the alcohol consumption, but the excess alcohol consumption.
So what direction are you talking about?
I don't want to change what it is. And when I say that, it is a community neighborhood establishment, you know, same people all the time.
Right.
Friday nights are busy night, and that's a young crowd. The rest of it, probably 35 to 65. Better food product, try to clean it up a little bit. We already have ample seating for food.
Yeah.
Try to change the reputation of what it has been in the past.
Well, the kitchen would be where you would put some emphasis, because I recall they used to have a good kitchen.
So
It used to be a place where I would go and have a meal.
when it was Shaq's,
Yeah, in the beginning.
was that under
Oh, I don't-
Charlie or, yeah, I mean, it's had,
I'm talking about years ago.
yeah, so I'm the 4th owner of Shaq's.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was called Jimmy Ray's, or I don't know, it's been a couple
Yeah, it
of
was called
things
Jimmy
over
Ray's for a while.
the years. When I took it over from Charlie, literally, he had one person in the kitchen, and she quit. And it was Charlie and his grandchildren that were trying to run the kitchen. It was a train wreck. We came in and hired, because of the restaurant end of what my knowledge is, came in and hired a full-time 2 people in the kitchen and gave them the green light to go, okay, create a menu, and let's make sure we're working. You know, cleanliness was also an issue when we took over. We had to get that straightened out. So I think that we're headed in the right direction. I can tell you, looking at this, I promise you, we're 20–25% better than what it was doing 3 or 4 years ago. And I certainly anticipate being within the guidelines that you guys set forth. My operations manager, and listen, let's be transparent and honest. I promise you, everybody cooks the books. It's easy to do. We can look at it and go, well, we got to change the numbers. That happens. Today's modern POS, the systems we use, track that, which makes it easier for us, as you were saying, to track our alcohol sales compared to food. So, you know, at the end of the day, we just tried to be honest. We just tried to say, hey, we've improved it, assuming you guys were seeing the same numbers we were. I doubt you were. But we've improved it. I think we're headed in the right direction. I know we're headed in the right direction. And, you know, it's just, it's a time thing for me.
So when they report their alcohol sales, we go just by the notarized letter that says, so we're taking them for their word. We don't have any way of tracking that their word is what they say.
Well, we can go in and check, but we don't. Generally, it's self-reporting is how we generally operate. And Mr. Wiley's point, his self-reporting was very honest.
Absolutely, that was.
And his other point about not everybody is as honest and is I think, correct.
I mean, occasionally when we submit to, they do submit a breakdown of the alcohol versus food sales for the year. But 90% of them just fill this one form out.
Yeah, we just rely on their honesty.
I would say this, when the state comes in and does their inspection yearly, they have done that in the past. I mean, we can certainly generate a report, takes a little bit of time. We probably don't have to, but, you know, it's about working together and trying to figure it all out. And I know you guys know this.
Yeah, I mean,
This industry is in trouble, big time. My sales are probably down at Bistro. Let's use Bistro as an example. Probably down 30%. Cost of goods is probably up 25%. You can't make up the difference. I employ 70 people. All of them live in Carroll County. You know, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, the state, food, 6% sales tax, alcohol, 9%. They want you to sell alcohol. You know, we know that. But there's a responsibility that comes with that, which is why we work hand in hand with Keith. I was here 3 months ago for a underage violation. You know, it's becoming more and more difficult to stay afloat. Bistro paid $760,000 in taxes last year. Any idea on what I made? I don't make anything, I promise you. I'm not making a penny. It goes everywhere else. And this is just one of those things, one more thing that we try to address. And food sales are actually, for me, probably more profitable than alcohol, to a degree, because alcohol's gotten crazy. Very expensive, very difficult to buy. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in the restaurant industry or had to buy and sell alcohol, but it is no good. They have changed the rules. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's my rant.
What was your proposed new name?
Tavern 26.
Okay, so Rule 27 says that if you're changing a trade name, you have to notify the board and be approved by it. Is that something we could
Correct.
do while he's here?
Correct. Actually, I deal with Mike Ritchie, and we'll put that, before we even get all that, Mike Ritchie's already told me he'll put together the package for everybody, because it's a lot of difference. When we changed Bistro, it used to be a JMP. When we changed it to Bistro, it's an adventure.
Well, I for one appreciate your honesty.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second
I think
that.
everybody does. I guess I have to say it's refreshing. I have never seen this violation before. You know, I know it.
Do you know why?
I do know why.
Now we know why.
I used to represent some
promise you.
restaurants, so I know why. Well, thank you for your honesty.
Hey, we're trying. We're trying to do it right, trying to do better, and, you know, it takes a village. You guys are a part of the village. I don't like being here any more than, but it is an education, I will say. And I did attend the conference you guys had
seminar,
last
yep.
week, which was informative. And that's the first one I've been to. It was informative.
Any further questions?
I have none.
With that, if you have any further comments,
I do not.
Mr. Wiley, you want to make any closing comments?
Let's keep at it.
With that,
Appreciate you guys.
testimony
It's
and
not easy.
testimony and evidence is now closed, and we will, hopefully, this board will come to a conclusion of the case 6559 charges for violations.
I will reiterate Commissioner Barnhart's statements on appreciation of your honesty. Probably wasn't an easy thing to do, putting that down on paper and attesting to it and knowing that you would end up here. So I, for one, appreciate that honesty, and I'm saddened by the fact that there may likely be people who aren't being as honest, just not to be called out to sit in front of us one day. I have run a restaurant, not with alcohol, thankfully, but I can absolutely appreciate the hardships you're going through, not only with costs, but staffing, I'm sure. So that being said, I will turn it over to Commissioner Barnhart.
Well, does the chair have any comments before I?
No, I was just sitting here looking at our rules and regulations and so on and so forth, and as I think you mentioned previously, we've not had any violations of this since I've been on the board. You know, there's about 8 different ways here. Cash register tapes, cash receipts journals, cash disbursement journals, customer order forms, invoices, bank statements and canceled checks, copies of sales tax returns, copies of amusement and admission tax returns. And unfortunately, the honesty of one of our licensees has him here before us, where in my opinion, excuse me, perhaps we have been a little bit lax as a agency in accepting annual statements whereby we probably have some premonition that maybe some of these establishments do not meet this 59-41% thing. And I think with all 8 of those things that are required, as far as we being able to check, and they must be provided within 2 business days of our request, they should be available. That's our rules. Perhaps we haven't really been as efficient on this, and we have one establishment here who has done the best that they could and was honest in turning the thing in, and it's, you know, I think based upon the licensee's comments and so on and so forth, ever since they became aware of it, they are trying to rectify the situation, and in all good intentions. So that's my comments.
Well, I agree with those comments, Mr. Chairman. And as I mentioned earlier, honesty is refreshing, and I think unusual, and this presents, for me, a case of first impression. I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman. Other comments from the commission?
You have any other comment?
Only iterating on what you had said, that possibly moving forward, we should maybe make more of a conscious effort to figure out a way to make sure that the information given to us is accurate, if that's a possible thing. Maybe part of the
You know,
packet, part of the renewal packet.
a perfect example, we have what, 100 and 70-some license, various types of license?
175.
How many Class B licenses do we have?
80, 90.
My point being that perhaps we should consider a routine check here and there of some establishments who may be in a similar situation and have been, and I can think of several that
Had the appearances.
have the same appearances and so on and so forth. With that, I would entertain your motion.
Mr. Chairman, in the case of, case number 6559, I move that we find that there has been a violation of Rule 20 regarding the ratio. And I believe the ratio is a state ratio as well. I mean, our local rule is just based on the state, isn't it?
Yes.
Is the state 60-40 or 59-41? I thought the state was 60-40. And I thought we were too, honestly.
Okay, well, nevertheless, I'm going to make my motion based on our Rule 20, which is 59-41 ratio, and I move that we, the board finds culpability for violation of that rule, but for all the reasons that have been expressed by all the commissioners up here, I think that a fine of $150 should be assessed and deferred until the next application that you submit, which I expect to be in compliance with our rule, because I do believe you are heading in the right direction, and I think that improving the kitchen, which is what you want to do, will get you there, and I think you'll be there. So my motion would be to defer the fine until the next application, and if the next application is in compliance with Rule 20, that the fine be suspended.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and properly seconded that we find the licensee culpable of Rule 20 regarding a percentage of alcohol sales allowed, a 59-41% ratio, 59% being alcohol, 41% being food, and issue a $150 fine that will be deferred until the next application renewal date. Any further discussion on the motion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, so ordered.
Now you have to decide on the fine for late payment of taxes, of what you're gonna do. I emailed you all that.
Who's going to present that?
Request. Do you want to talk about the late fees?
All right, let's,
Oh, we did talk.
basically, if I understand from the lengthy emails back and forth and so on and so forth, that this licensee had a problem. We had, when I say we, the Carroll County Board of License Commissioners had a hold on the issuance of the renewal. And upon our rules and regulations specify that a $50 a day fine is added to the fee, the renewal fee, effective April 20th for the renewals. And if I think I'm correct, the applicant or the licensee's representative contacted our office on the 28th,
That's it.
correct?
I have to look at the dates.
I'm pretty sure that's what the email, the first one was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
4/28.
In reference to the renewal of the license, and there's a bunch of emails that go back and forth and so on and so forth. between Ms. Vance and Mr. Wiley's manager, I guess.
I thought it was an attorney.
10 days.
No, it's not Kelly Schaefer, it's Kelly.
We reduced it to half.
Mr. Wiley, what's Kelly's last name?
Kluka, K-L-U-K-A, Kluka.
Can you tell us what happened there? I kind of jumped over it here a little bit up until April the 28th.
I'll give you to the best of my recollection, because there's some communication I probably wasn't a part of, that I think Joe and I communicated some, but I think you were dealing with Kelly. Long story short, our accountant terminated doing business with us because our payroll got too complicated, and there were some tax issues, payroll taxes, state taxes, and stuff that didn't get paid. Moved to another accountant. We weren't even aware of a lot of this stuff. I believe, and I say I believe, that late taxes were paid on the 27th, I think, and that was personal property tax, is that correct?
I got the clearance from the state on the 30th.
Okay. So it was a bit complicated, and Kelly and I think Joe communicated through some of it, if that's correct. So I do believe there was probably a period of time where it lapsed or we were late in our fees.
And which tax are we talking about?
I think it was,
Just a property
personal
tax?
property tax, yes.
Just a personal, just a
Personal property tax.
$300?
Or it could be
We don't know.
Payroll tax.
sales and use tax.
I think
They
it was
never
personal
tell me
property tax.
which tax they're putting the hold on.
Okay, so it could be as simple as a $300 personal property tax, or it could be more serious than that.
So I would say, I believe the
but
amount was
personal
about
property tax
$2,700.
could be Any amount.
So,
I think for a corporation, it's $300.
No, the state assesses their
it's too much.
equipment.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Tables, chairs.
That's personal property tax that
To file.
we
Yeah.
worry about.
Okay.
It's the state assessment of the equipment and fixtures and furniture of the business. So that assessment can be
Whatever the property is
quite
worth.
high. It goes down every year, depreciates every year. But
You-
then that's the
And-
tax.
And those
that-
fixtures are called personal property?
Yes,
Yes.
So it costs $300 to file that tax.
correct.
Yes, that's what
Yeah,
and
that's,
then,
that's the minimum, that's the filing fee, which.
that's the filing fee, and then you
And then they
get,
come decide how much they want.
yeah, they decide, the
Every
state
year.
and the county
Never
and
the
the
same.
city.
If you have equipment, stuff like
You
that.
buy a chair, you're paying tax on it every year.
So now my question, based upon all those emails, was this tax strictly at GL Shacks? Or were the two of them tied together somehow?
No, it's strictly jail
Yeah, I think it was the personal property tax for GL Shacks.
So you said,
Road 91 did not have a hold on it.
so you say you thought
No,
it
I
was
know
around
that.
2,700. When was that paid?
April 27th.
Okay.
Kelly paid it here.
Well, there's a county assessment. There's a state assessment and a county assessment. But the state had to be paid, which is why I got a release from the state on April 30th.
With 3
Okay,
zeros
but
behind that, right?
based upon those memos or emails, if I understand it right, the business license, trader's license, I guess, I don't know what kind of license you need now, since I've been out of business for that. Everybody said everything was okay. And she assumed that everything was okay.
Well, I'm just finding out now what happened with the accountant. Kelly didn't mention that in any of the,
When's the trader's license renewed? Isn't it like March 1st? Or
April 1st. It's renewed May 1st, just like the liquor license.
just like the liquor license?
I need help keeping track of it all, honestly. I mean, it's crazy.
I don't know
That's the thing on the
that
wall that
they
says dates on it.
hold a trader's license based on
Buyers, this date.
taxes, do they? Or
for that.
I think they can, but that's not what this is. This is strictly personal property taxes or sales and use. That's the only two things that the state will
Right.
send me a hold on.
And this came from the comptroller's office?
Yes.
So what's at dispute here? So he says,
Kelly she basically just thought that
so
that they
technically,
turned in all of their paperwork on time, and she says the taxes were paid before the deadline, but something wasn't paid because I didn't get the release
well,
till the 30th.
he just said that it was paid on the 27th, so that time from the 20th to the 27th was in violation, because our rule says that they have to have their taxes paid by the 20th or incur this charge, this daily charge, until they're paid.
Correct. And Keith and I had talked about that. I think the fine was $50 a day or something along
Right.
that line after.
So at the very
So we're
least, the
aware of
20th to the 27th is
Do we have any documentation?
not
Do we
compliant.
have a receipt for the payment of taxes?
I think Joe's got that. We had to send it to her to get released.
Well, she has a release, and but that's April 30th, right?
Yeah,
Does it say when the taxes were paid?
no.
I'm sure I have a
Kelly
receipt.
says but Kelly says it was paid on the 27th.
And you say it was paid here?
No, that one you had to go down Baltimore.
Yeah, that one might have been downtown.
Right, comptroller.
Yes, sir.
That went to, okay. And so it's your testimony that it was paid April 27th?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My only dispute with that is, and not a dispute, April 27th was a Sunday.
So it wouldn't have been the 27th.
And how was it paid?
I checked.
Was it hand-delivered? Was it mailed? Was it,
It was hand-delivered.
okay.
It was probably 28th,
It was
maybe.
like a 5-hour adventure because everybody that had paid their taxes was there.
So,
I could probably get you a receipt, but I would have to leave to get my phone and try to have it emailed to me.
so it was hand-delivered on what day?
Say the 28th.
So the best of my recollection was the 27th.
Okay,
So,
but that's a Sunday?
Well,
so it wouldn't have been a Sunday.
Okay.
It was, I would say it was probably the 28th, but I do not have my phone. I could make a phone call and maybe find out.
if you look at
Lock in your card.
this email progression,
Oh, I'm driving something else.
2/3 of the way down, I emailed Kelly and said, I just spoke with Kyra Towles at the State Comptroller's Office, and she says GL 2300 LLC is delinquent on sales and use tax, and that as soon as you pay it, they can release the hold. However, you will need to pay it with a cashier's check or cash to get that done. So that means it was either paid on the 29th or the 30th.
It was a cashier's check.
Okay. So we're really talking April 20th to April 29th at best.
Yeah, 9 days.
And
So if it was you said it was sales and use.
Yes,
So if it was sales and use, it didn't really have anything to do with payroll.
Right.
It was sales and use.
yeah, this was strictly there.
so who at the restaurant was responsible for having that paid?
Well, ultimately I am, but
I understand that.
Kelly, my operations manager,
She's
does
a-
that.
she's
the
operations
one that went
manager?
downtown and paid it. She's,
Paid quarterly? Is that what we,
yeah, it's probably paid quarterly. Now, so my accountant, who was a local guy, did a phenomenal job. They took care of all that stuff. We didn't even see it, you know, I mean, they took care of it. And when we switched accountants,
when did that happen?
probably around the first of the year. Thaxton, right up the street here, Tim Thaxton, did a great job for us. Our payroll got way too complicated with the addition of the second place. And their employee status couldn't keep up. And there were taxes that didn't get paid. And it was also a problem while they were still doing it. Some of it was payroll taxes, some of it was sales and use taxes. We had no idea until we started getting letters from the IRS, and I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how the IRS works.
You got letters from the IRS,
Oh, yeah, they wait.
in addition to the comptroller's office?
That was, the state and the federal government are obviously two different things. The state's much better. Federal government, they could be 6 months letting you know that, hey, back in October, we didn't get payroll taxes sent. Well, we're thinking that the accountant sent them and they didn't, hence the termination. So we spent a lot of time playing catch up. But the sales and use tax was something that, and sometimes it just gets confusing. There's just a lot going on. So my testimony is I know they were paid, hence why the business license was released and the liquor license was released and all that stuff.
Was the liquor license, was the application approved before the release or after?
It was pending.
Well, approved is not really the word. I mean, I accept the application and the money. I print out the license, and then if there's a hold on it, it goes in the file until I get a release.
So was GL Sachs selling alcohol during the time that that license was on hold?
But here,
Yeah, but their old license was still good
So the 30th of
till
April.
the 30th
Yeah,
of
yeah,
April.
yeah.
technically, he was never out of a legal license.
Right.
The hold was put on prior to the renewal, prior to the existing license expiring.
Okay.
And the fine was satisfied prior to the new license taking effect. So technically, it's not in my opinion, it's not a licensing issue, it's a.
So the license expires on the 30th of April?
Yes.
That's why I think it was probably the 28th, because we were hustling to get it done,
Yeah.
along with everybody else. Excuse me.
So what are we deciding today?
How much you wanna, if
So
you
the
want
lic-
to fining the $50 per day, till what date? How many days do you want a fining for, or do you want to fine him at all?
Maximum amount would be 9 days, correct?
Well, in my world, I got the release on the 30th, so the maximum amount would be 10 days. $500. But it's up to you guys.
Negotiated cash.
So this is reminiscent of the last month's hearing where we had a similar problem, where it fell through the cracks. Wasn't there an accounting problem on that one too?
Yeah. But now they didn't get the renewed license in time, and so they closed until they got everything settled.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Right, so I think the last time we actually reduced this penalty.
Yeah, I think you're right. Is this the first year for it? Okay, that's what I thought. This is the first year we've done this.
At this amount.
Oh,
no,
no, the tax thing,
No.
this is the second year.
Second year,
Yeah,
okay.
As we did last time.
I meant the first time we've
No,
ever
no,
had
no.
a problem with Joe.
That's what you want to do, I agree with you.
I just tell you what, that's what we did.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, suggestions?
I'll just make a comment. I think that this reminds me of last month's situation where we did reduce the fine because there were mitigating circumstances. And I believe it was a 50% reduction last time.
So,
Well, I'm waiting for the chairman to.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, then I would make a motion, unless there's further discussion or any thoughts not in the same direction as mine, I would make a motion that the fine as Vance enunciated, which is 10 days, $50 a day, that fine be reduced, cut in half, based on the mitigating circumstances. This doesn't have a case number, does it? This is just, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been properly made and second that we find the licensee culpable and issue a fine of $50 a day for 10 days or $500 and reduce the fine by 50%, resulting in a fine of $250. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered.
Now, just since he's still here, when he came in this morning, he's requesting a one-day permit for June 28th
Demanding.
from 5 to 10 p.m. for an outside event, motorcycle jamboree. He did this last year. He would utilize lower parking area, and all neighboring businesses will not be impacted.
Same.
And, he said similar to the events we held in the past.
Did we check on that last year?
Yes, and he did a very good job. We had made one minor change, and he was no problem making a change.
What changes were they? There's something about,
Just had rope off an area so people could leave and come and go from there.
if you're going to do the same thing, and Mr. Benfer has vouched for last year, I have no objection.
I have no objection.
No objections? Pay the fee.
I do think they're providing their own security. The gentleman that we're doing this with is a guy named Rich Sullivan, who's a retired state trooper, and he said, "We'll take care of." I do have my own door staff, but I don't like to call them security.
Do you need any time to pay $250?
Say who what?
Do you need any time to pay your $250 late fee?
Well, I don't have a check with. Well, negotiate a cash deal. $220.
You can do cash, but it doesn't have to
Okay,
be today.
I'll bring you a check.
Okay,
It's in the mail.
Okay,
No, I'll hand deliver it.
now I'm ready, Dave.
good luck.
I'm going to need it. I appreciate you guys.
We'll take a 5-minute break. One of the first things on the business agenda is approval of minutes. You all received, or you have a copy of them. Is there any corrections or additions?
No.
No.
Hearing none, okay, we'll check them off. Next item is we've got a request from various Main Street businesses in Mount Airy for the Oktoberfest, which they've all had before. Any objection?
No objection.
Manchester Volunteer Fire Company asking permission for their beer garden at their carnival of June 20th to July the 5th, which they've had before, and we've had no problems.
Have they renewed their liquor license? Joe?
Yeah, I got it today.
Okay.
Any objections?
No objection.
Letter from Patapsco Distillery in the Vine on Main requesting their usual music nights and so forth. Any objection?
I think they're requesting that they do it on Thursday.
Because July
Is it July 4th
Yeah,
weekend?
their music night because of
They're
July.
just going to move it a night or something like that. Yeah, no
It's
objection.
just changing that one day.
Yeah, just that once, yeah.
One-day liquor license application from Speak On It, Act On It for the Juneteenth event on the premises of Carroll Community College. They've done this before, am I correct?
Yes.
Any problems?
No.
Any objections? One-day liquor license from the Humane Society of Carroll County to hold Wolfstock at Tonytown Memorial Park. What is Wolfstock, Inspector?
It's,
Does it mean all the
Dog.
dogs barking?
dogs barking, dog fundraiser for the Humane Society who does the animal rescues and this location's moved, this event's been doing it for years, but just different locations.
Any objections?
No.
No.
Letter from Andrew Schuster of Liquid Library to be able to participate in the City of Westminster Beer and Barbecue Stroll on June the 14th. Any objection?
No.
They've done this in the past.
Has,
Yes,
has-
it's part of the,
And the next one is Sierra on Main, the same thing. Any objections?
No.
Okay, we'll skip this next thing. Amount collected at the beginning, blah, blah, blah. Letter from Green Turtle requesting permission to serve alcohol outside for their car shows on June 22, August 3rd, and October 26th, and they've been doing this for several years. Any problems?
no problems.
Any objections?
No objection.
Okay. With that, on my watch, it's 11:29 and a half. So after everybody is situated, Mr. Dixon, would you please call case 6562, please?
All right, case 6562, a violation hearing for Class BCL beer, wine, and liquor license with catering issued to Kenny R. Russo and Jesse S. McPherson for the use of Play Ball, Maryland, Eldersburg LLC, trading as Glory Days Grill, 1348 Liberty Road, Eldersburg, Maryland, 21784, violation hearing sale to a minor. In the file of this matter, we have the following documents. A June 4th, 2025 letter from Linda C. Carter to the Board of License Commissioners. There's a May 30th, 2025 notice of public hearing for this case. There's a May 23rd, 2025 notice of public hearing for this case. There's a May 6th, 2025 letter from Linda C. Carter to the Board of License Commissioners. There's a notice of intention to defend with the box checked, I am pleading culpable, guilty with an explanation. Dated May 7th, 2025 by Kenny Robert Russo. There is a limited irrevocable power of attorney. See, acknowledge receipt of the letter dated May 5th, 2025, delivered by hand on May 6th, 2025. There's a May 5th, 2025 letter from Joe Vance to Kenny R. Russo and Jesse S. McPherson. And then there's an alcohol compliance violation sheet dated May 2nd, 2025, and completed and signed by Inspector William Ledley. There's a notice of violation for selling alcohol to persons under 21 under the letterhead Haven End Shoemaker Jr., State's Attorney, and signed by Abukun Akin Bodhi. I would ask that the file be entered into evidence.
We'll accept that in evidence. This time, I would ask all those who intend to testify, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by Ms. Vance.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You may be seated. Inspector Benfer, I believe you're going to present the case.
Yes, I'm going to present the case. Inspector Will Ledley is out sick, so he will not be, but I am going to testify for the case. On May 2nd, 2025, at approximately 5:25 p.m., Inspector Ledley sent an underage volunteer into Glory Days with the purpose of purchasing an alcoholic beverage. The volunteer sat at the bar and ordered a Blue Moon. The bartender asked for identification, and after examining it, served the volunteer the Blue Moon. The volunteer texts Bill that she's been served. Bill entered the location and observed the underage volunteer sitting at the bar with a glass of beer in front of her. The volunteer identified the bartender who served her. The bartender identified himself to Bill with a through his Maryland driver's license, with the name Buchan Asbode. The bartender advised he did card her but made a mistake. He's only been working at the location for 5 days and has not been TAMS or TIP trained. He advised that he knew it was a crime to serve a minor. He also advised that he wants to attend the diversion program. Zachary Carson was the manager on duty, and he was advised of this incident. I make a motion to enter 2 pictures in as evidence. I showed it to the defense.
We'll accept them into evidence.
The manager and bartender were polite and cooperative throughout this incident. And I believe the volunteer was 19 years old. Take those up.
Thank you. It's not working right.
Okay, Ms. Carter?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff. For the record, my name is Linda Carter, and I am here, unfortunately, today on behalf of the Glory Days Grill in Eldersburg, Maryland. With me today, I have not only one of the licensees, but I have a manager and a regional manager. If I could, by way of proffer and explanation, I've presented what we'd like to be marked in as licensees exhibit number 1, please. And that is the server training handbook. Well, Alcohol service is a portion of every day's training process for the 5 days that people are trained. It's really on day 3 that emphasis is really given on what is required in connection with each transaction. And it starts on page 26. And if you look at it, it really is a tips training, if you will. In fact, this morning we were talking with Kenny, and they are actually going to look into having the people that conduct this day of training certified as a tips trainer, because they're covering everything that the tips program covers, and this way we can actually get everybody certified as they come in. I've had the pleasure of representing the group that acquired this location since before January of 2023, but in January 2023 is when they acquired, initially I think it was 23 units, and we're down to 20 now, right?
Yep.
We were calculating this morning that in that time, since January of 2023, Glory Days in these 20 units has sold close to 2 million alcoholic beverages. It's my pleasure to report, unfortunately, for us being here today, this is the only violation that we have had in any unit. Glory Days takes the privilege of selling alcohol very seriously, and it imparts that, or at least really tries to impart that on their employees. Got a 100% no tolerance policy. The young man who was involved in this incident had just completed his 5 days. This was actually his first day working without being covered. He took the card. He actually, we've got video, he actually took it in his hand and looked at it, a vertical, and made the sale. We have 100% no vertical policy, okay? In Maryland. That's not true in every jurisdiction. For instance, in Virginia, licenses can be good for 5 years after the person turns 21 because they're not replaced when the person turns 21. But this, in Maryland, it's 100% that no server can accept a vertical. Grounds for immediate termination. We also employ the BARS program, in which people come in who are underage and they will attempt to order a drink. If the server turns their back, if they accept the order and they turn their back on the table, they're immediately given a red card and it's immediate termination before the order's ever put into the system because they failed to card. That's how seriously we take this. There's a pre-shift meeting with each staff member every day, and then at the conclusion there's a one-on-one. And at every pre-shift meeting and at every one-on-one, responsible alcohol service is emphasized. At this particular unit, currently, all managers and all shift supervisors are in fact certified. And the unit has about 30 employees. And as I indicated, pursuant to the training manual, everybody is trained even though they may not be certified. And in order to get to the floor, you have to have, there's 5 tests, and you have, and if I say anything wrong, y'all need to correct me. Sure. And you have to get at least a 90% on every test before you can hit the floor. If you don't have a 90%, you are not an employee that can serve. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, obviously, I have the manager here. She can tell you more if you want, but that would be our case by way of explanation as to what happened and what we attempt to do to make sure that this doesn't happen.
So I notice nowhere in your packet does it say don't accept a vertical license. So you kind of almost set them up for failure when you tell them to look at their birth date and try to do math, because you would not believe the amount of times we're told I did the math wrong. when there's a great big black line that says this person is not 21 years old yet.
So, oh, I know. So this training manual is used nationwide at all Glory Day units, but when it's taught at individual units, like for Eldersburg, they are specifically told verticals are not permitted. Repeatedly, not just on day 3, but repeatedly, not only during the training.
So when
but-
you tell them that, do you show them a vertical? Because we also get the confusion of what a vertical license
Yeah.
looks like.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So you kind of like,
Yeah.
there's a picture of a vertical license.
Yep.
If you take this,
Yes, correct. And they're told, as it sets forth in here, and it's actually interesting, this is one of the few national clients I have that actually puts this in writing, but not only is it immediate termination, but the company reserves the right to actually go after the employee for all of the cost that the company incurs as a result of the failure of the employee to abide by Glory Days rules, not just yours, because it can happen on the red card too.
so where were the people that were TIPS or TAM certified? Everybody but the bartender, or were there other people on staff at the time that did have a TIPS or TAM certification?
I believe it was just the managers, but all of us managers were there, yeah.
Miss, please identify yourself. State your full name and your address. It could be a business or personal address.
Sure, my name is Madison Ryder, and it's 2600 Offutt Road, Woodstock, Maryland.
So did I hear you just, only the managers are alcohol certified?
That's correct.
With tips?
Yes.
And do the managers serve?
No.
It might be a good idea to get the people who actually do the serving alcohol management training, regardless of the book. I think if you get that experience in person, like your managers will probably tell you, like they taught us so much more than you can think of to put on paper. That might be something moving forward to consider, to have the people that actually do serve the alcohol be certified.
And I guess, you know, because I know how this is done, and I apologize to the board, the employees are not just handed this, they are taught this. There is somebody that actually goes through it with them, and they are verbally told everything that's in here, in addition to being handed this. It's not just a take it and run.
And there's a quiz at the end of training that's just alcohol.
You too.
Identify.
Sorry,
Address.
Ken
Okay.
Russo. I live at 3045 Chickweed Place, Imesville, Maryland.
You might as well do it while we're doing it.
Douglas Morataya, 2810 Elsa Court, Crofton, Maryland.
And Douglas, can you please tell the board what you do with Glory Days?
I'm the district manager for Glory Days.
He's got
I
all the
underst-
Maryland locations, so he's the vertical ID police.
Expert. And Madison is the GM at this location.
He's the manager.
Yeah.
Did I understand you to say that your bartenders are not necessarily TIPS or TAM certified?
That's correct.
Is that company policy?
Not every state requires certification of the employees, and as I indicated, the training program really mimics the TIPS classroom. The TIPS for on sale is somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, and that's about what this takes. So like I indicated, we're actually in the process of trying to figure out if we can get probably Douglas certified to be a trainer, so he would actually teach that portion of it, so the person would in fact become TIPS certified, as opposed to just, they are TIPS trained, they're not certified.
Can you
I was under the impression, the gentleman that's on the license from Florida, who probably is the principal owner,
Jesse is the CEO of the company.
when he was here, when you all transferred the license and so on and so forth, I was under the impression that your people were all TIPS and TAM certified, but you,
All of our managers are.
And shift leaders.
Yeah.
how many managers are on duty from open to close?
It varies by restaurant, but in this restaurant, there's 3 managers, and there's always one of them in the building.
So there's only one person basically that's actually TIPS or TAMS certified while the door's open.
Correct.
How many servers do you typically have during the day? Let's say a weekday.
There's 5 to 10 servers on a day.
Can you just briefly explain the corporate hierarchy here? Play Ball Maryland Eldersburg LLC. Is their only store this store?
Yes. So when this was set up, Play Ball USA is the master entity, if you will, of the 23 units that we initially acquired. 3 have been closed, we're down to 20. And in almost all instances, there is a Play Ball subsidiary that was created specifically for that location. There were a few locations where it was done differently. I believe, for instance, we've got 2 units in Frederick, right?
1.
Oh, 1. There were a couple of places where it was done a little bit differently, but here, I think maybe Anne Arundel County is done differently, but.
So our licensees here today are just involved with the Eldersburg store?
No, sir.
They have
involved.
other stores?
Correct.
Okay, how many other stores are they licensees on?
You are a licensee on every Maryland location, correct?
Correct.
So it's 16? Help me out
in
there,
Maryland?
Douglas.
In Maryland?
How many in
Just
Maryland?
7.
Oh, 7, I'm sorry. 7.
And you're certified, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Yeah. In Virginia, the licenses are issued directly to the corporation. So we disclose officers, but there are no individual licensees.
Any other questions?
What kind of signage do you have in your store in Eldersburg regarding vertical licenses?
We do not currently have any signage.
Have you sent anyone to any of the Carroll County Board of License Commissioners seminars where we discuss things that involve underage sales? And have you sent anyone to represent Glory Days to any of these seminars?
We have not.
And I will apologize to the board, I was unaware of that, but we will certainly, that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll gladly take advantage of it.
The signage will get done today.
Yeah, we
Doug can get
provide
that.
all kind of samples of signages.
Yeah.
And
Is that universal we can use in all the counties in Maryland?
Yes, I mean, it's not labeled.
Well-
I got 2 signs that label Carroll County, but you could use signs.
Cover them.
Okay.
That's something we'd use in all the Maryland stores if provided.
And Play Ball Maryland Eldersburg has had this store since 2023?
That's correct.
And this is the first violation. And how many times has this store been checked, Mr. Benford, since the new licensees took over?
Since, well, I've only go back to since 2019. It's been checked 5 times and they have 1 violation.
But since these licensees took over,
Well, I missed that date. When was that date?
yeah.
23, January 23.
They've been checked twice and they failed once.
Okay, so you've had 2 compliance checks and 1 was a failure.
This one.
How about your record at the other stores that you're a licensee on? How those other stores doing?
No violations.
No violations in any of the 20 to 23 units, depending on the day of the day of the year.
And I mean, in full transparency, when we took over the company, there was some issues with this that we were here in this room and you were reminding us of our past, and we took it very serious, and I feel like we've done everything we can to rectify it. And this, again, is an employee that we taught them how to do their job, and they just chose not to do it.
So during this training, do you inform the employee of the diversion program that is specific to our county, that they can be criminally charged or diversion? So that's part of the training, that they get to know all that?
Do you accept passports?
No, I mean, I don't think it
Keith,
ever happens, but.
Keith.
It is in the training manual.
It's in the training.
Yeah, I saw that, so I'm saying, but she had the training managed nationally, I just was asking because Carroll County does not allow passports.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm assuming that the server is gone because of zero tolerance.
Yeah, he's fired.
Immediately.
First day on service?
First day, yeah.
And I'll bet you a dime to a dollar he's working in another location for somebody else today, as we speak.
Sure. What are your staffing challenges right now?
It's tough everywhere, right? So turnover's high in the restaurant industry. In the front of the house, it's usually over 120%. So we're constantly, trying to get people to do the right things. And when they don't, the cycle kind of begins over and over again. The best restaurants are the ones that have consistency and people in place a long time. So that's what we thrive for. Do you know how many folks in this county do tips training to every one of their employees?
Our inspector might be able to help you there. How many of our licensees train all their employees with alcohol management?
Less than 10. But
Okay.
we
It's
do-
something we can look into for sure. We do it in Frederick. 50% at any given time, 50% of our staff is tips certified, but it's something we can look to do in this county as well.
I know that this board prefers to have servers, at least on the floor, some having this training, as opposed to having to, if there's a question, find a manager, and especially in a big store, or a big restaurant, where there can be a lot going on at Glory Days.
Do you have an independent organization or company people that check?
We use the BARS system, and that's done at least once a month. And if a server fails to ask for an identification when a drink is ordered, as soon as they turn their back on the table, they are terminated. 100%. So while Mr. Benfer has only done 2 inspections since we've taken over, there have been 24 or 30,
30, yeah.
inspections done without incident.
The reason I ask that, I happened to be in there for lunch several months ago, and one of your employees said, "You sure are checking our store a lot." Wasn't our guys, so it had to be yours.
Oh, we check them every month.
It could well be.
Yeah, it's something we take really serious, and
This
again, we
was
took
a
over.
matter of 2 or 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
Alcohol only accounts for about 20% of our total sales, but it is an integral part of the business. Without the ability to sell, especially beer and margaritas, the business dies. I mean, that's reality, because as you all are aware, one drink for a table of 4 can drive where that table of 4 goes to dinner. And so while that table may only have a 10% alcohol percentage, they're not going to get the 100 or the 150 for that 4 top if everybody doesn't, if they can't sell that one beer or that one margarita. And this industry right now, I'll be honest, is hurting.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
It's
for
tough
sure.
right now. It's really tough.
Another thing that we have found that helps, an incentive program, if you are checked for, age compliance and the server is successful in not serving or understanding that this is underage, a free burger, some people give monetary incentives. Just a thought that we sometimes share with our licensees.
No, that's a fantastic idea, Doug. Are we doing anything like that when people? I know we give them. We put it on a record. We have a board where we recognize people and we put it on there and write their name and everything. But do we give them any?
We do when they pass bars.
What's that?
We do when they pass the bars.
You do give them that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
If not, testimony and evidence is now closed. If you'd like to make any closing remarks.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board and staff, it's never fun to be before you on a violation. But I really do believe in this instance, my clients did everything that they possibly could to make sure that their staff was properly trained. And clearly, the young man involved understood that he had an obligation to card. He just didn't do it right. As I indicated earlier, you know, we think we've sold 2 million drinks in our system since acquiring these businesses in January of 2023, and we are pleased to say this is the only violation that we have had. Clearly shows that system-wide we are doing something right. And that comes down not only from the licensees, and Kenny lives here. He comes to this restaurant probably more frequently than any other restaurant. But clearly, both Douglas and Madison take their roles very seriously. And, you know, other than saying that we are really sorry and we will strive to make sure this doesn't happen again. We don't want to see you for this purpose. That would be it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. We appreciate your time and attention to us this morning.
Inspector Benfer, do you have any closing comments?
I do not.
With that, all evidence, testimony has concluded, and we will now, as a Board of License Commissioners,
Made a thorough presentation, as presented to this board. I think a fair amount of evidence that the licensee does take the matter seriously and goes a long way to preventing this from happening, although I do slightly dispute that everything is done. I think another thing that could be done is to have your servers trained in alcohol management principles. Understand that they're trained in-house, but there are times where I think that the formal program that's presented through TIPS or through a local Carroll County trainer sometimes has an effect of, it might be a little more notable than having it as part of your training in a business by your employer. But besides that, Counsel, you've convinced me that your client is going to do a lot to prevent this from happening in the future. And again, this I think Glory Days historically in Eldersburg has had a pretty good record for compliance checks, although under the new regime, there have been 2 checks and 1 failure. But I bet that the follow-up will be successful. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with everything Commissioner Barnhart said. Ultimately, unfortunately, what it comes down to is a minor was served. That being said, I'd be ready to make a motion if it so pleases the chairman.
please do.
In case number 6562, a violation hearing for a Class BCL Beer, Wine, and Liquor license with catering issued to Glory Days Grill, I find you culpable of violation sale to a minor and would assess a fee of $300.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
Motion's been probably made and second that under case 6562, we find the licensee culpable and issue a fine of $300. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered.
Thank you very much.
Find you culpable and issue a fine of $300, which must be satisfied within 30 days of official written notice from this board.
Thank you very much, and I hope you won't take this personally, but my clients hope they don't see you anytime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we're gonna implement some of the stuff today. I think, even though the training manual is national, I think we can denote that in Maryland. We can denote that in the training material. Shouldn't be a hard adjustment. The signs, Doug can take care of. The reward for the passes, we can take care of. And we already do it in Frederick, so we're gonna see if we can find a way to get some of our
and our
hourly
inspector has
staff.
some great signage for you if you
Yeah,
want to
definitely.
cover.
Yeah, we'll just do the same program in Frederick, just expand it. Okay.
We would encourage you to have your people who serve alcohol, tips or TAMs certified.
We're going to work on that, for sure.
May I ask the board a question? As I'm sure you all are aware, TIPS nationally, but for Maryland specific, and I know you're aware of this, offers online courses. So and you still take a test, but the test is not proctored. So therefore, it's not certification.
Correct.
But it's training. And the cost, quite frankly, are significantly less. And in a business that typically experiences 120 to 150% turnover on its front house employees, that cost savings is pretty substantial. Would the board be satisfied if we did that?
Well, basically, looking through this, and this is the second time, because if I remember right, you all brought us a very similar packet, probably
I'm
the
sure we
same
did.
thing when
You've
you
got a better
transferred
memory
your
than I
license.
do, Mr. Chairman.
Biggest thing in your license transfer was you had about 4 or 5 different corporations involved, and who owned stock in this and who owned stock in that, and so on and so forth. And you all had me thoroughly confused until we got to the end.
I'm still confused about it.
The only thing I can remember is the gentleman from Florida is up here.
Correct.
Pulls the strings, I guess. Anyway, and one other thing, if you all can figure something out, please let me know why people ask for a license and they give them a vertical license and they serve them anyway.
What they tried to do.
You don't have to go to MIT to figure out a vertical license is a vertical license.
Duh.
And 99 and 4,400% of the time, that person is under 21 years old. It happens for cigarettes too. So anyway, if you all could figure that out, maybe we could make a few million by figuring out how to prevent it.
Yes or no to the online?
They didn't answer. Do
I
y'all,
think-
are you satisfied?
Well,
that make
I'll
sense?
answer for myself.
Okay.
The online is better than nothing.
Okay.
But it doesn't comport with Maryland law about alcohol management training.
Correct. It is
Proctor-
not
Proctor
certification.
preferred. Okay.
It is not certification. It is only training.
I will say this. A licensee is required to have certification,
Oh, yes.
and a person on the premises, while the doors are open, must be certified.
Correct.
We will not accept that online
No,
for
no,
that.
no, no.
Okay.
So say, for example, your manager had an emergency and had to leave. Do you close because there's nobody certified in the building then? That's something to consider, because somebody has to be there.
Yeah.
Good luck, and like you said, I prefer to see you at the bar eating lunch, but not in here.
Did they card you?
That's
I
what I
don't
thought he
order,
was
I
gonna-
don't order alcohol.
That's what I thought he was gonna say when he was
What's
like,
her-
I was there. They called-
Shannon, is it Shannon?
Shannon, yeah.
She knows how old I am, so she doesn't card, because I don't order alcohol anyway. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great and safe day.
You too.
Can we take a break?
Sure. If it's, of course, if he agrees.
Take a 5-minute break. Session. Mr. Dixon, would you call case 6563, please?
All right, case 6563, a violation hearing for a Class BCL beer, wine, and liquor license with catering issued to Kenneth McQuay for the use of Fork and Mallet LLC, trading as Maryland Mallet, and the Smokehouse Pub, 2820 Littlestown Pike, Westminster, Maryland, 21158, violation hearing, sale to a minor. In the file of this matter, we have the following documents. May 30th, 2025, notice of public hearing. May 23rd, 2025, notice of public hearing. Notice of intention to defend with the box checked. I am pleading culpable, guilty with an explanation. I see the name Kenneth Shane McQuay and an address, date May 8th, 2025. This is to acknowledge receipt of the letter dated May 5th, 2025, delivered by hand on May 6th, 2025. There's a May 5th, 2025 letter from Joe Vance to Kenneth McQuay. Then there is an alcohol compliance violation sheet dated May 2nd, 2025, and completed and written by Inspector William Ledley. There's a notice of violation for selling alcohol to persons under 21 under the letterhead Haven N. Shoemaker Jr., State's Attorney, and it's signed by Olivia Giannini. I would ask that the file be entered into evidence.
We'll accept that in evidence. This time I'd ask all those who intend to testify, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by Ms. Vance.
Mr. McQuay is going to be here momentarily. I kind of got the time wrong for him. There he is. We're just swearing us in, so we're good.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Come on up.
Sorry.
Inspector Benfer, you're going to present this, I believe?
Two pictures, the volunteer and this as evidence. Again, Keith Benford, Board of License Commissioner Inspector. I'll be testifying for Bill Ledley. He's out sick. On May 2nd, 2025, at approximately 8:20 p.m., Inspector Ledley sent an underage volunteer into Maryland Mount with the purpose to buy alcoholic beverage. The volunteer went to the carryout area and picked up a six-pack of Corona beer and took it to the register. The cashier at the register never asked the volunteer for her identification. The volunteer left the location after paying for the alcohol and brought it to Inspector Ledley. The server was described as a young female with blonde hair and black shirt. Inspector Ledley entered the location and located the server, who identified herself as Olivia Gennari. The server advised that she sold the beer and never asked for the volunteer for an identification. She said it was been a long day and she was tired. She is not TAMS or TIPS trained. She did not know it was against the law to serve. She advised that she would attend the diversion program. Mark Christopher, the manager, was notified of this incident. At the time of the incident, the volunteer was 19 years old. I did show pictures to the licensee and Mr. Barnes. I make a motion to enter these into as evidence.
We'll accept them into evidence.
Both the manager and server were polite and cooperative throughout this.
I was also there that night, too.
Okay, gentlemen, before you testify, please state your full name and your address, can be business or residence. Mr. McQuay, what happened? What do you want to tell us?
Kenneth Shane McQuay, 4321 Bartlett Road, Sykesville, Maryland, 21784.
And Darren Barnes, Maryland Mallet. My address is 813 Snowfall Way, Westminster, Maryland.
Mr. McQuay, you want to tell us what happened?
Well, I mean, we made a mistake. She did. She had just turned, I mean, usually anybody that working there that's not 21 we get a manager or we get somebody that's over 21 to sell the alcohol through carryout. She had just turned 21. And, you know, she made a mistake, but, I mean, we are on them nonstop, checking IDs and reminding them, and, you know, it's unfortunate, but I really believe that she's never gonna make that mistake again. She was very, very regretful. I mean, we did just have a class for anybody that wasn't certified. You know, I mean, we try our best. I mean, we are constantly on them. I have no idea how many people come through there, to be honest with you, but, we deal with a lot of people on a daily basis, 7 days a week. We made a mistake.
Did she get certified through this last certification round?
And I can add, I was there that evening, not officially, but I was in the building, and then I was alerted to it, and I went down and spoke to Bill, and actually spoke to Olivia. You know, it was totally, you know, I don't know what she's talking about, that she didn't know it was illegal to serve somebody under 21. I mean, she's been told, she's known it, she's been there, you know, 6 months or 8 months. She hadn't been there that long. Just to not reiterate or go over like a little bit of our policy. So typically we hadn't been really alcohol training the under 21s because we don't let them serve unless they're upstairs. The servers do. But if this girl was strictly carry out, not a server. So typically once they turn 21, we try to get them trained. And she had, you know, I can't keep tabs. I don't keep tabs on every single person. The manager's supposed to do that, but she had been 21 for like 3 weeks. So obviously we dropped the ball on really putting in her head what her responsibility was. So we're going to take 100% responsibility for that. And then in her comments, other comments, words, I don't know if Bill wrote it down, was as soon as the girl walked out the door, she realized she messed up. And then we asked her why, and she said that, you know, she was embarrassed to ask someone who was like a peer of hers. So obviously I said, well, that's, you know, that's called being an adult. You have to, you know, if you're scared to ask someone for ID, that's a problem. I don't know if he put it in his report. I was right there when she said it to him. So anyway, also, to reiterate what Shane said, we just did a retraining of a lot of people. I would say 80% of our people were already trained. I would think Keith would concur with that. And then we just had another 25. When we got her to do it, we said, let's just re-up everybody. So we did, everybody in the building who hadn't been trained was retrained. I would say out of the 25 or 27 people, probably 18 of those were already trained, but they were like two years in. They weren't even expired. They were like 2 years in or getting ready to expire. But so obviously, you know, it is a problem, and we messed up. The younger kids, we definitely had to work with them harder. They used, you know, the cell phone usage and not paying attention is a major battle for us. Literally since the incident, we usually send a text message once a week. We have a schedule fly for the schedule, so everybody gets that same text message. So literally every day to every other day, we send a notice to them right before their shift. make sure you're checking IDs.
Everybody.
Everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. In the building, the cooks are getting the same message. It's like, so I don't know, outside of that, and then also they're verbally told, and we try to keep that up, but it is frustrating, when something like this happens, and it opens my eyes and Jane's eyes as to, we gotta work harder especially the young ones. It's not always the young ones, but a lot of times it is.
Or the newer ones.
Newer ones, yeah.
In your policy regarding vertical IDs,
We don't take them.
so every person who works for you knows that the policy that's prohibited.
Yep. It's prohibited. That we do make, every now and then we'll make an exception, but an exception would have to be made through the manager or me. Like if it's if somebody called ahead and said, my son's turning 21, they're with the family, we look at it. Okay, but, if it's two young kids together, no, if they show a vertical. That's the simplicity of it. If it's vertical, they don't take it.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, but you gotta ask for it, that's
Right.
it, that's the problem, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we've always done is, Keith says that we're allowed this, the 18-year-olds are allowed to serve the six-packs, but I don't really think they're capable. So we typically never let them do it. That's why we hadn't gotten them really damn trained, because when somebody brings an alcohol product, they're supposed to go get someone else to sell it. Doesn't matter if that person's
A team leader, at least.
50 years old. They're supposed to get someone else. So that's another case where the ball was dropped when she had turned 21.
Right.
She hadn't really been trained properly.
She wasn't so much a server as working carryout for you.
She's carry out.
Yeah, carry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she was carry
And I think probably what Inspector Ledley was referring to was, we ask our inspectors to ask the servers if they know it's a crime to serve someone under
okay. I think
21.
that's what it was, yes.
And that they could be prosecuted, because we have a diversion program with the state's attorney's office.
Yes,
So,
now I recall, she did do the diversion program as well.
yeah, so that might have been the distinction.
Okay, yeah, that
That might-
makes a lot
that might
more
be-
sense.
that does make
Because
more
I'm like,
sense.
wait a minute, she had to know it wasn't legal for her to sell, yeah.
How much time do each one of you guys spend there a week?
I would say, like Shane, I'm more of the manager, I would be, say, like, I'm the GM over top, Shane's the licensing partner. I would say,
I would say 10 to 15 for me, and I would say he's more 30.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would
more.
say some days I might be there 8 hours, and then other days, just a couple hours, I would say for me, 20 minimum, and then sometimes a little more.
How about evenings and weekends?
I'm usually work more on the weekends myself. And the general managers are always working on the weekends. So, I mean, obviously, some of that, when you got managers you're paying to do the job, like on Sundays, there's always a manager there all day, Saturdays as well.
Fridays.
And, well, every day.
Because-
Well, there's times where we have what you call a team leader, shift leader, which may be capable of opening the building and stuff like that. That basically designates them as the person to go to if there is an issue, and if there is a bigger issue, then they would call me or Shane or another general manager. But I would say 90% of the times there's a manager in the building, per se. I don't like to give out too many titles. Right now, if I gave out 10 managers, it goes to their head, and they try to be bossy, and then the other employees turn on them, so I try to make it more of a team effort. That's why we call it team leader. So they just have to know who they got to go to, stuff.
But there's 90 to 95%. I mean, they're there maybe an hour opening now, and that was just because we just did have a manager, leave too.
Yeah, we used to have 3
We
full-time.
had 3 full-time managers, and we had 1 move on, so. But it's working better with these team leaders, because I think they also have a little bit of more responsibility in the building, which,
More training.
but they're all veteran employees.
You ever have any problems on the parking lots?
With, like, the guest?
With kids and so on and so forth,
Drinking out there?
drinking out there, rebel rousing.
Not really any rabble rousing. I mean, we did have an issue back when we had the pagans used to come in there, and we got rid of that problem. They were never really a problem, but there was one incident, and that was we just decided that'd be the end of it.
That was enough.
Yeah, that was enough for them. And then outside of that, I wouldn't say every now and then, one night might, it's usually a fight over a girl, if there is any problem. And I would say 99% of the time, it's a woman, lady, that's a problem. Two men interested and they don't agree.
But no, I mean,
we don't.
we really haven't had any fighting or any real major problems in the parking lot now.
Do you have signage in the restaurant about vertical IDs or anything like that?
Yes. Yes, that's at every service station.
And do you have like an employee manual that perhaps this young lady could have read and signed it?
Well, she did read and
She
sign
did.
it, yes.
No, we do.
Every employee signs it at the beginning, yes.
And that sets out the no vertical license requirement?
We don't have a full handbook, but we have a sheet. I can get copy. It's kind of a
It's
simplified
probably
version.
15 pages, not 50, but we definitely do. And they, when they're hired, they read it and sign it, yes.
Well, I can't, they're supposed to read it, and you tell them what it is.
Well, she, I'm not sure that she read it very well, if she signed it.
No, and I don't want to talk bad about anyone. She's learned her lesson. I don't think it'll happen again. Like I said, our policy is not, used to be we fire them a long time ago, but I find that once this happens, it's better for us. Obviously, if it happens 2 times, I'm not going to deal with that. We're not going to deal with that, but I'm always nervous. I mean, every time I walk through the carryout, I mention it to the girls. Every time they get, we got it. It's always like the managers, even you say, hey, tell them, and they're always like, we got it handled. I'm like, okay, you got it handled till you didn't. So just like you guys are telling us. So I will say we made some corrective, like the last time we were in for the DUIs a couple of years ago. We saw a problem. We were staying open until 2 a.m. when we changed the law. We were one of the few, and we got that 8 or 9 or whatever. I don't know how many DUIs we had, but I think
Don't
that
even
last
bring
year.
that up.
Now I know, but we made a change. We changed our hours and we changed things, and
No, we
I
did
think
change
that's
the
dropped
hours.
off down to next to nothing, if any. Like I don't even know what was last year, but yeah, knock on wood.
Well, this is
but
metal.
it could happen to anybody, but like we did we made changes and it showed up in the numbers. So we're fully capable of evolving policy as needed, and that's basically what we're trying to do every day.
Commissioners, other questions, comments? With that, testimony is, evidence is presented. Would you like to make any final comments before we deliberate on the culpability?
I mean, that we're sorry, and we're definitely gonna keep trying better. I mean, I don't wanna come back here. I mean, we really do preach to them a lot, and, I mean, I think I don't know about other places, but, we have to be near the top as far as the number of guests. I mean, we go through a lot of people. So as far as ratios, I mean, it's none of my business about other places, but, I mean, if you actually kept track of the amount of guests we deal with the violations, we should be near the top as far as being, percentage-wise, as far as, I mean, it's no excuse, but, I mean, if you're dealing with 3 times as many people as somebody else, and, and they have as many as you do, I think we're doing pretty good.
Right, yeah, and I'd add to that when you do that, when you have 40 or 55 employees in the building, it's versus a smaller place where they got 4 or 5 to watch, it is harder with the turnover and everything. So not, like, again, no excuse. And,
You mentioned percentages. How much is your percentage alcohol and food?
We're like 6, what were we? No, we're like 80-20. 80 food, 80 food and 20.
I would say even maybe 15.
Well, when I filled out we filled out the.
So those crabs are so expensive, they kind of like get that ratio really high.
We're a low ratio of alcohol compared to food.
Yeah, we are.
I think if I remember.
15 or 20.
I think it was around 19, something like that. 19 and 20. We get a report every night. I could show it to you if you want.
I was just curious. We had a little problem a while ago, and I was just curious how business was. I know it's busy. You all are busy up there all the time.
They were checked 5 times and they passed 4, and they only violation since 2019.
Any final comments? Edinburgh. You have any you have any final comments?
Just the comment about the 5 times checked, only 1 violation.
With that evidence testimony is now closed, we will deliberate the violation or the culpability of the violation and hopefully come to a decision. Commissioners, you've heard the testimony and evidence is presented. Your thoughts?
It's unfortunate that she didn't ask for an ID, which would have hopefully mitigated this hearing. I will add personally, I came to lunch the day Keith was leaving. I thought he was just there to eat, but he told me that he was there training you, so you guys got on it pretty quickly. It was, weeks later, that after the violation that you made sure that she was trained. And that's important to us, that we see that you genuinely are proactive moving forward. We hear it all the time, how hard it is for just the business in general and employees, and you're at their mercy to do the right thing, but ultimately, unfortunately, the licensee is the one who gets to sit in front of us. I've often suggested in the past, maybe you should bring the server with, just so they have to sit up here too for a minute and see what you guys have to go through once their actions cause you to come to us. That being said, I will turn it over to Commissioner Barnhart.
I agree with everything that you say, Commissioner Mulwiney. I think maybe the training of this young lady might have been a little bit incomplete or insufficient, maybe a little bit. But on the other hand, you do show a propensity to try to get as much alcohol management training as you can under your belt for your servers and your employees. So that's good. So we're balancing things here. Unfortunately, the problem is before us, you're the responsible party, and this is an uncontested case. But I think that Maryland Mallet is run well. You have a good record, no violations since 2018, and we don't usually go back more than 5 years to look at how many violations a licensee has when assessing penalties and so forth. So that's good record. And I do think that you run a good business and you make a good faith, strong effort to prevent yourselves from coming here. Having said that, though, I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, unless there's further comments from the board.
No comments.
No comments.
Mr. Chairman, in the case number 6563, I move that we find the licensee culpable for underage sale, and then for the reasons that we've discussed, acknowledge that there is an effort here to not have this problem, but I do think that the training was a tad insufficient for this young lady, so I would move that we assess a fine of $300 for this offense.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been properly made and seconded that we find the licensee culpable of the violation of sale to a minor and issue a fine of $300. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So ordered. Gentlemen, we find you culpable and issue a fine of $300, which you must satisfy within 30 days official notice from the board.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Keep them keep them sales going.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry I was late. I had a plumbing leak.
Keep Darren busy.
He does. Are you guys, just 3 of you now, or are you missing somebody?
Yeah.
It's always 3.
No, it's always 3.
Yeah, I thought it was 4. After you left the plumbing, or the Steve line broke.
Some people thought it was 4 too.
Yeah, because we couldn't get Steve Tripp.
Well, you couldn't get Steve, that was one problem, and then we got.
Okay. Let's go back to the business session here right quick.
Thank you. Same to you. Same to y'all.
We have some kind of form here. We don't have enough paperwork, so somebody's come up with a Carroll County Festival information sheet.
Well, this is actually trying to make it my job a little easier. So anybody, they do a big festival or any town, that they list who is participating so I can make sure everything's turned in properly. And dates of festivals, and like, because Mount Airy does 3, Sykesville does 4, Westminster, each year they add another one, so hopefully this long-term won't be used every one-day license, but it'll be used when there's a multiple big event.
Like a town event.
Yeah.
This makes your job easier monitoring what's going on in a town event.
Correct.
So you'll turn this into the person in the town who's responsible for it, and every business that wants to participate will sign up to, so this is.
Well, no, the town would fill it out, just listen to businesses.
Okay.
So then I know, I expect a letter from the
So the businesses still
business
send in
saying
a letter.
that they are going to participate.
Okay,
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that form? If not, Mr. Benfer, you have a comment about Rite Aid Liquor Store.
You skipped the fines and late fees, are we good with that?
We took care of
We
that.
already talked about it.
While you're talking to all them other people, we were doing business.
I had talked to the manager of Rite Aid Liquors. His information is they're closing on June 25th. So on the 26th, I'll be picking up a license from there. Now, my question is, or the board's question is, what do we do with the license? We have a quota of 7 for Westminster, we have 8 licenses. It was discussed 10 days after we get the license, but there is no real rule of a license that's being turned in. We don't have any, state doesn't have anything. The state advised, it's up to the counties to determine what to do with it. So basically it comes down to what you want to do with the license.
All right, I'm a little confused. You said we have a quota
Correct.
of 8. No,
Yes.
of 7, but we have 8
7,
licenses.
we're at 8.
So we're above our quota is what you're telling us.
Correct. Because we grandfathered places in when we changed from
Yeah.
5,000 people.
And this was one of those places, was it? Rite Aid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so.
I think Crossroads was the last one, but yeah,
So if this license is turned in, we are now at our quota.
correct.
I think maybe we take a reasonable amount of time, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever you all feel would be, to see if there's a buyer or not. That's only a idea.
Yeah. But then we have to decide, I guess we'd have to rule that the buyer, 'cause I don't think the law would grandfather the buyer in, or would it?
No, I mean, in the past, to get a liquor license, you would have to transfer from a current liquor license to a new license, to a new owner. J&G was the last one. But they had an auction, supposedly, that's the rumor was, there was an auction, and if either didn't get enough money or did not go through, and the rumor is they just don't want to transfer it. They just want to turn it in.
Because I think the auction was for the entire Rite Aid Corporation in like PA.
Now, it was for each store.
Okay.
Each store was
So it was
listed.
like online or something? Or-
I don't know where it was.
So it was for the stores that still exist,
Correct. Usually, a lot of them were for the pharmacy records.
right?
This Rite Aid didn't, so they had those stores, and then they had these stores that had just liquor. And I think there's one down Easton has the same thing with us.
Is this Rite Aid a pharmacy as well, or just a liquor
No,
store?
just liquor store.
Just a liquor store, so,
It was underneath the Rite Aid pharmacy umbrella, but it was just strictly
and it was grandfathered in,
correct to make.
okay?
But I don't believe someone new that does not I don't know, Joe Smith can come off some of the sidewalk and say, I want to buy that license.
That
You don't
kind
really,
of makes sense.
but you don't really buy the license.
Well, I mean, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's an open light, you know,
Buy the store.
they have to, I would think they would have to buy it through, transfer it through,
It's gonna have to be a bulk transfer.
well, there will
No.
not, because there is no, there will be no product at the end of,
Yeah, they're not transferring, they're selling the business, someone had, well, wait a
You
minute.
have to treat it like a brand new
Yeah, a new application.
Which,
application.
new application,
but can we do that as
You
a,
can't do it, in my opinion, you can't do it as a new application. If it doesn't qualify for a transfer, our rules say that 5,000, right now, we have the ability, according to our rules, to have 7. However, all of them that were existing at that particular time were grandfathered in.
No, see, I don't think you can do a new application. If they're just gonna close the doors and they've already sold off all of their liquor inventory.
and they close the doors and
That
turn
poses-
the license.
That
and the-
poses a question to me. How could they dispose of that inventory unless they sold it as a bulk transfer?
they're selling it off. It is down to
Who can buy it?
anybody, the business is still open.
Yeah, they're still open till the 25th.
Sell it to a
I
private party.
understand that. I understand that.
Can they transfer it back to the wholesaler?
But with the volume that they got in there, ain't no individual gonna buy all of that.
Yeah, well,
But they've
Chair-
been having
It
sales.
is 90%
Discounts.
empty.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it is, there's no cold box, everything's cold.
In
It's
other words,
more-
they didn't keep up
No, they stopped ordering,
their
and
inventory.
they are,
just
it's,
sold it and didn't get more.
In fact, I think a lot of people thought it was already closed because.
you have to bring bag or box in right now, because they're out of, they didn't even order, they're out of bags.
I don't have any.
it sounds like it's not, then we don't have to worry about it. It sounds like it's going to just cease to exist.
Yep. And then I think the license, I personally think the license dies.
I kind of agree with you at
I
this
agree
point.
with that, too.
There's nothing to transfer.
Well, the only thing I can say is if somebody wants to create a problem, that means our attorney will have to work.
He work harder.
I don't think anybody can create a problem. I
right.
mean, I don't really see a problem that can be created.
Do we still want to do the 10 days, or do we?
I don't think we
I
can.
don't
No, I don't think we can.
Nah, I think it's when it turned
Okay.
in, it's turned in. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Okay. We agreed?
Yep.
Two one-day license applications from the Community Foundation of Carroll County. Discussion of the licensee in both requests. Now, you want to explain to me what we talked about?
Okay. The Community Foundation is listed as a licensee on these 2 licenses. One's for Hampstead Fall Fest, and one's for the Westminster Pride Festival.
All right, in the future, we're talking about a future one-day liquor license event?
No, they apply, it's, yeah, when is the dates?
Is this something we've granted, is my question?
We've granted the Westminster Pride Festival and but not to the Community Foundation.
The Pride is July 26th and the Hampstead and Main Street is October 11th.
Okay, so these are pending. That's my.
Yes, okay, yeah, okay, okay, future, okay, sorry, yes, they're upcoming, pending, upcoming, yes. My question is, the Community Foundation has nothing to do with the Hampstead Fall Fest or Pride. All they are is basically a bank for these nonprofits.
They're an umbrella of nonprofits in Carroll County.
Right.
That some nonprofits who haven't gotten their paperwork all in order can use this umbrella for events. That's my understanding of the legality of it. Now, the 2 you're talking about, who are they again?
The Westminster Pride Festival, which has gotten a license in the past for us, and Hampstead Fall Fest, which has gotten a license.
Okay, are either of them charities?
Both of them are
Both
charities.
of them.
Both of
The
them?
problem is the person who's applying is Jackie, who is part of the Community Foundation.
She's the CEO.
We think
Or-
the licensees applying should be members of those organizations.
Those of
Oh,
who have
okay.
applied in the
That's-
past.
I see.
Yes.
That's what Keith and I have discussed with you.
I see your question.
Sorry, I didn't explain it well.
And actually, a person from Hampstead called me about getting certified, so I think they are planning on redoing theirs at least.
Are both of them after our July meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should,
Wait a minute, the Pride thing is in June, isn't it?
that's July.
During July.
I'm sorry, it's, these are both after today's meeting, is the question.
Well, no,
It's
I
June
mean,
now.
Both after
it's
July's meeting.
July.
July, oh, I thought you said
July
June.
20.
No, July's meeting. So,
They're both after the July meeting,
Yes.
okay.
so that if,
I mean, they've done this every year, but this is the first time that they've submitted it with a member of the Community Foundation being the licensee. She's not gonna be at this event, either one of them.
Have we communicated with her about this question we have?
No, we haven't. I just want to talk to the board, make sure we're all on the same. I don't give out information that I believe, and then you guys have something that you believe, and then, so I wanted clarification.
I guess I would wonder why a qualified charity, a tax exempt organization, would not make the application themselves, why they would have another foundation make
I
the
mean,
application. I don't
they can
understand.
apply, the Westminster Pride Fest can apply, but use the foundation's 501c number. We've done that in the past. But they've always applied.
But the Pride is a 501c3, you said. They're a tax exempt charity, you said.
They're a nonprofit. But through the foundation, they're a nonprofit. I'm not going to say they're a 501c, I don't know what,
Let's say tax exempt nonprofit.
okay, I believe they're a tax exempt nonprofit.
Now, the tax exemption comes from the IRS. They have to go to the IRS and say, I want to be tax exempt, and the IRS sends them a determination letter. That's the requirement that we have had for these licenses, that they have to be one of those organizations.
We've used, in the past, we used the Community Foundation's tax exempt
it's an
number.
umbrella, but
understand that.
they're
It's the
not the
umbrella.
ones that
So-
apply for the license.
Right, but they're not the ones
Well,
applied for.
Right.
They have you're right, they're not, the name of the licensee, the name of the applicant,
Right.
it has never been
The foundation.
foundation. The event operates under the umbrella of the foundation.
Right, but the facilitator of the event
licensee-
is usually the licensee.
Yeah.
Right, so you
Like
say
for
somebody who's gonna be there.
The Pride Festival, it's usually the guy who runs it. And for Hampstead, it's usually someone who's part of the city staff.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Joe, that it might be not proper to have someone who's not even involved in the organization be the actual licensee for the event. I mean, not involved in the event.
Right.
And maybe in the past, we have let the Carroll Community Foundation sponsor things, maybe just as a pass-through type of deal. But
Well, they've, excuse me, they've sponsored things for Tawny Town, but it was, the licensee was, or the applicant was a member of the, part of the town council or something.
Well,
So that's what I think we just need to say to them, we can't do this with Jackie as the licensee.
Well, don't we require that the licensee get alcohol awareness?
Well, that's a whole nother story, yes, yes. That's a whole
And
nother.
they've got to be there, so I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They don't have to be
She's
there.
gonna be there.
Well, if you, what's the purpose of having alcohol awareness training if you're not going to be there?
I think the spirit of that requirement is to have them there.
Right.
But unless they have someone designated, which they do in the form, and that person's alcohol awareness trained, yes, they can be there instead. But you're right. The licensee needs, just like a restaurant, the licensee needs to be trained. But the licensee's not there at the restaurant. Shane's not there.
I know, but for a one-day event, we have said recently that we want someone there who's trained. And I thought we were saying we want that licensee
No.
to be trained or to have,
I don't think we can, I don't think we can say that. I don't think,
why can't we say
because
that?
if someone's working it that has the alcohol awareness training, that's all that's required.
It's our rules we're talking about, so.
Right, and that's what our rule says.
Just someone on
On
site
premise has to have the alcohol awareness training.
regardless of who it
It doesn't say licensee, doesn't say,
Do we have something in our rules about a one-day license?
no. I'm going by the
This
rule
is-
we have.
We're talking about policy now, right?
I'm going by the rule we have for alcohol awareness training.
Is there something in here about a one-day license requiring someone to be alcohol management trained? I don't think there is. I think it's something that we have decided to,
I think that rule we have, Rule 59 or 60, whatever, I think that falls underneath the one-day license.
It's the last,
The last rule.
wherever the
No, it's the last rule.
temporary and
Yeah,
special.
it's the last rule in the book.
rule
I
is.
remember, because I remember I drafted it, so I,
It's the last bullet point under temporary and special licenses.
last bullet point. Rule 67, right? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it should be the last rule in the book.
It's the last rule in the book, alcohol awareness training. And it talks about all Class B and Class D licensees.
Class B and Class C.
I don't see anything here about.
I thought, okay,
Not anything about a C in here.
Look on page 53.
That's when you got into.
That's Class C per diem and temporary licenses.
Okay.
And on page 54, the last letter, G, says at least one licensee must be alcohol awareness trained in state certified program.
Okay.
That's under per diem.
So, yeah, so it is our rule that the licensee of.
I agree with that. I agree with it. The licensee has to be trained, but I don't think
It doesn't say they have to be there.
has to be there. I think
Right.
that part falls underneath the Rule 67, which says someone working it all the time. So theoretically, if Jackie got alcohol awareness training, she does not do either. It's the Jason, who is the one that actually runs the place, that someone needs to be there to run it also. That's why I
The
look
person
at
that
it.
comes in here is her, not him.
Excuse me, what was that? Sorry.
The person that comes in here before us is the licensee.
Correct. It should
The
be.
person that's running it, technically.
Right. The person comes in here, most of the time.
I think we want the person who's responsible for it on that license to be running it, that comes in here if there's a violation.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Said.
Right. And that Jackie's she's not running it.
Right, so she should not be subject to violations.
So she should not be on the
Technically,
license.
she should, if she's a licensee, she is.
I know, that's why I'm saying she should not be the licensee.
Right.
Right.
Because, yeah, I mean, there's.
She has nothing, you're supposed to have a part of the event. The Pride Festival, she has nothing to do with the Pride Festival itself.
Well, we're all agreeing, I
Yeah.
think.
Right, so we can table it till, that's why I asked when they were, so we can table it till July,
And gonna resubmit,
reach out to them and ask them to resubmit each entity to be the licensee under the umbrella of the community, and then we can approve it then in enough time, if the right people.
But if the licensee is already a tax exempt nonprofit, why do they have to be under the foundation?
George,
I don't
what you're saying is what I'm gonna say. This all goes back to when you had to be a 501c3, technically, to get a license.
Yeah.
They are 501c3. So that's another reason why these so-called umbrella groups are under the Community Foundation of Carroll County, in addition to a lot of other things. But that's one. A lot of these things in here,
But we changed that.
and we changed it when we said it has to be volunteer, nonprofit.
Tax exempt nonprofit, as opposed to a 501c3. So now there's no need,
That's right.
according to our rules, to have anybody use the umbrella of the Carroll Community Foundation if they are already qualified.
well, they might not wanna fill out all the paperwork and submit, and just to put the money with the account, the foundation does all that part. That's the reason they might be considered a 501c3, they might not have submitted the paperwork for it, or might not fill out the forms to pay to each year. That's the reason they fall underneath the foundation.
The town of Hempstead is obviously a nonprofit, just like the city of Westminster and Sykesville.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key word is nonprofit.
Well, when we give
Tax
these
exempt.
one-day licenses to Westminster, who signs them?
The city does. Usually goes to one of the rec and parks employees. Because Abby Gruber does not live in the state. So she has one of her employees fill out the paperwork.
So we're doing, in my opinion, what we're asking to do is what we're doing. City of Westminster is the umbrella. Parks and Recreation is the one doing it, and they're doing it. Hampstead, whoever else we're talking about.
Yeah.
Get the organization. I feel that whoever's responsible for it, if it's Hampstead Fall Fest, whoever's in charge of it gets the license, not the community foundation or the town
I
of
agree.
Hampstead.
Yep.
And that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm just making sure that before I tell them, no, they need to resubmit underneath the Westminster Pride Festival or Hampstead Fall Fest needs to submit.
I think that makes sense because accountability is something that's important.
We've been agreeing for the last 10 minutes, but
I know.
now we've agreed. We all in agreement?
All in agreement.
Okay. I think I checked everything off on this list except,
You missed two.
Miss these two right here. That one and that one.
which one?
The Tony's,
Tony Pazzo.
Oh, Tony's,
and then the name change.
That's Tony Pazzo.
And where is that? It's,
It's about fourth from the bottom.
oh, okay. Letter and drawings from time to time, asking the board to expand their
oh, wait a minute, you done thrown me a curve, Keith.
That's right, it's a new sheet. I'm looking at the bold sheet.
Yeah, I'm going by the sheet you gave me yesterday.
I can't help that Joe takes stuff the
Joe,
last
you
minute
done
still.
throw these in here on me. All right, now I gotta figure out which one you're talking about. Letter and drawings from Tony Pazzo Italian Restaurant asking the board to expand their outside seating, blah, 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 for their one-year anniversary celebration. Any objections?
well,
There's a
who is
letter,
Tony Pazzo Italian Restaurant? I don't know.
there's a letter from
Mount
the
Airy.
landlord giving
Within
permission and
where,
everything too.
Lorenzio's used to be.
Oh, that pizza place right there in the downtown center? Yeah. All right, well, that's,
Just a one day.
yeah, they used to do
one-year
that when
anniversary.
it was the other
Yeah,
place.
the other place used to have them. They're gonna be in the same, that little plaza they have out front.
Yeah, that's,
No
I
objections.
have no objection.
All right, no objections. We got that done. Now, where's the other one on this?
J&G
Right below it?
Liquors.
J&G Liquors right below that?
A&G Liquors requesting approval of trade name change to Tower Liquors. Why they want to do that?
I don't know.
They want tower above
Because it's a
everybody.
big tower right behind there. There's a beauty parlor right beside it. And there's a drugstore on that
Where it
side.
is.
Maybe because that big
And
tower is
then-
right there.
Joe,
Look for the
then I
tower.
won't say what the next establishment is.
Cigar shop.
It's a cigar shop, all right. You ever been in there? I've never been in it.
I don't smoke cigars.
I have no objections.
Tim, you ever been in that shop?
No, sir.
Any objections?
No.
Well, let me just look at this for a second. Did they give a reason? The request
Well-
is solely for a name change to better reflect our branding and future business goals. So the only reason we care is basically because of public notice and creditors and things like that. That's probably why it's part of our rules, so.
George, this establishment was one of the switches that we did in Finksburg.
Oh.
Okay, that was one of the
Okay,
switches.
that's right.
And then this one was sold to another party. And there's the big AT&T tower, whose ever tower it is,
Yeah,
there at Suffolk Road. They're stuck in there in that little strip center.
NSA tower.
Huh?
NSA.
Is that what it is?
And it's near a tower,
I have no objection.
Tower Liquors.
You know what J&G stood for?
Do what?
You know what J&G stood for?
No.
Jew and Gentile. That was the two owners.
Are you kidding?
Nope, I am 100% short. Well, that's what Chuck told me. So that's my source.
You're 100% sure that Chuck told you.
I'm 100% sure Chuck told me that.
Now we're done.
Matt, strike out from the record. Okay, is there any other announcements?
Yes, I got two more things.
You'll keep us here for dinner.
Do you all start, I sent you the survey information from the seminar. Turned out pretty good. There's some comments that we need to change. Probably going to try to do something with IDs, fake IDs. That was like a big comment was made, several comments made about the fake IDs. The comment with the food, we had a little discussion on the catering, like, menu, had food listed that I thought we were getting that was not on the menu anymore. So they need to update their menu. Overall, I think it was a good seminar. I think we're doing pretty good for 7 years. I really like what Jeff Kelly said. It was nice to have some good comments from the director of ATCC. So I think I don't know. I guess do you guys enjoy it? Was it good?
I enjoyed it, but I really was missing a Diet Coke.
Okay.
Noted, next year, Diet Coke. Just
one Diet Coke.
Just get a 2-liter bottle.
Yeah.
Because we did talk about we did cookies and sodas one year, and maybe we do that again. One suggestion was start at 11. I don't like the idea of starting at 11. I think just
I like it, but
9 o'clock, get it done, get it over.
yeah.
I told Keith, I thought things were pretty well accepted, except the First Lady kind of had me confused about 3 parts of her organization presentation there. And I don't think Cindy's husband did what I think he should have done. I don't think he explained exactly what Catherine's cause is and how they affect the people with the presentation that they have to work with. And I think that could be better. And I think that a couple other of our speakers there's time is kind of went by the wayside because the same things as every year ask of them, and they give the same comments and so forth.
And I don't think they missed the second break, so maybe one break halfway through. That way you don't have to try to get multiple breaks in.
Because everybody gets up and goes
Whenever they want, right, yeah. So maybe
Well, it
just
was also nice having, I think we moved the food
inside. Yeah.
which made it easier to take a break.
Right.
And somebody left their phone on while they took a break to eat. We need to make sure they turn their phones off from vibrate and to vibrate.
I thought it was off.
That thing rings, I look at you back there, no.
Those little round balls, very good.
But yeah, I asked, I don't ask what they're going to, I make suggestions what they're going to talk about. Catherine Crosby made a suggestion what to talk about, but I don't know.
I think Catherine's cause was excellent, to have them there, and I think all the time. But, maybe have someone introduce them and explain how Catherine's, well, I guess this state's attorney kind of breached that a little bit. How we use Catherine's cause, how the liquor board uses Catherine's cause. But I thought that all the licensees who were there, or all the employees were kind of moved by it and remembered that and took it away from their, the tragedies of drunk driving.
George, but if they attend, have you attended the class?
No.
If you attend the class, you'll have a better understanding of really They really hit you hard when you go to that class. Nothing like his presentation.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I say that. I just, the things that they talk about and the illustrations and so forth that they use is just,
You know, maybe have them do an abbreviated presentation from the class.
Like, this is what to expect if you're sent to our class for serving a minor. Here's the repercussions of your actions, kind of
but
thing.
let me tell you, the people that they use basically to do the presentation do it in a much more
Somber.
much more professional. They're speakers, let's put it that way. They know how to present the gruesome things that they're gonna show you in such a way that they're not just you and I talking about. They,
Yeah.
it's a moving presentation is what it is, really.
And this, I mean, the people who come to the seminar usually are better people, are better businesses. They're ones that looking, we don't have any businesses, I mean, I'm trying to rephrase that. They're the ones that, their businesses care. They, other businesses that don't show up are the ones that I need to reach out to better. If that makes sense.
I asked Keith to see a list of the actual businesses there, and to what he just said, you know, I looked around that room and some of the people that we've just transferred to and so on and so forth, you didn't see any of them there.
Yeah,
Anything else?
one other thing, but I want to be off record, please.
What?
I want to be off record. One other thing.
Any announcements, Joe? Tim?
No.
Okay. This meeting is adjourned, and we will re-adjourn. We will
We'll come back.
come back on July the 9th at 10 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.